complex yet resolute glance at the hovering black fortress before merging into the traffic, forming a small, desolate procession. This convoy slowly exited the parking lot, heading into the inky darkness of night, soon vanishing into the shadows of the ruins, their fate unknown. Remaining behind were over 800 individuals. They did not move. They chose to stay. Fear triumphed over the illusion of freedom. The desire to survive overwhelmed all resentment. As the last departing vehicle disappeared over the horizon, an even deeper silence enveloped the parking lot. The eyes of those who remained no longer reflected confusion, but bore the numbness of acceptance and resignation. They resembled a flock of sheep awaiting the redistribution of their fates, gazing up at the black arc that would determine their future. With a beep, Chun Mo's timer hit 0. The arc of homes hatch opened once more. This time, it was not Chun Mo who emerged, but Su Qing, clad in crisp police attire, her assault rifle in hand, her gaze as frigid as frost. Behind her trailed several combat drones, their metallic sheen glinting as they descended on either side of her. She stepped forward, her eyes scanning the tense, apprehensive, and reverent faces in the crowd. Her voice, amplified through the loudspeaker, resonated clearly throughout the area. Time is up. The vibrant flavor of this moment ignited the senses. Chapter 35. Class treatment. The crowd began to stir, gradually forming an orderly line. The first to step forward was a diminutive, grease-stained middle-aged man, his face marked by a hint of anxiety and eagerness. Name? Su Qing inquired without looking up. Zhang Wei. Age? 42. Profession before the apocalypse? Automotive technician, senior technician. At the mention of his profession, Zhang Wei instinctively puffed out his chest, pride lacing his tone. Su Qing finally lifted her head and cast a glance at him, observing his calloused and scarred hands. Can you repair diesel engines and turbochargers? Absolutely. In fact, given sufficient parts, I could even assemble a new one for you. Zhang Wei's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. Excellent. Su Qing nodded, swiftly jotting down notes in her notebook. Skilled technician. Proceed to that area to report to the logistics team, where arrangements for your lodging and sustenance will be made. Zhang Wei was momentarily taken aback, gazing at the direction Su Qing indicated, where a few other technical personnel, similarly assigned, were being guided by drones towards several empty buses at the rear of the convoy. Is this really approved? A wave of overwhelming joy engulfed him as he nearly danced over, feeling he had rediscovered his worth in this wretched apocalypse. Next in line was a bespectacled woman who appeared refined and cultured. Zhou Min, 35 years old, was a surgeon at the 3rd Municipal Hospital before the apocalypse. She calmly volunteered her information. For a brief moment, Su Qing's gaze softened. A doctor is a treasure more precious than gold in this world. Top-tier talent. Without hesitation, Su Qing assigned her the highest rating and welcomed her aboard. Your compensation will be the best, but the work will be arduous. Do you have any objections? None. Zhou Min shook her head, expressing, I simply wish to save lives. Go ahead. The selection process continued in an orderly fashion. Inside the vehicle, Mia sat with her legs crossed, resembling a supervisor in a control room, scrutinizing the queue of individuals below through the images transmitted by drones, providing real-time reports to Chun Mo via an internal channel. Commander, this Longji's team has a rather complex composition. There are few with genuine skills. Most are merely misled cannon fodder. Look at that one. Yes, the one in the suit and tie. He clearly sat in an office before the apocalypse. And now he wears a mournful expression, likely destined for the latrine duty. How amusing. Oh, isn't that Longu's confidant? He was the loudest in calling for violence earlier, yet now he is acting like a meek little lamb. Su Qing, pay attention to the 9th person in the left queue. He has something hidden in his pocket. Soon, it was the turn of the individual Mia had indicated. He was a burly man with a face full of excess flesh, who, instead of his previous arrogance, forced a sycophantic smile. Little sister, I'm Li Hu. I can do anything. I'm strong. I can fight and kill. Su Qing's gaze fell on his bulging pocket, and she coldly commanded, take out what you have in your pocket. Li Hu's expression shifted, but he maintained a forced smile. Nothing, just a few packs of cigarettes. Su Qing didn't indulge him further. A combat drone beside her silently flew past, its electric shock device crackling with ominous blue arcs. I want to repeat myself. Cold sweat instantly broke out on Li Hu's brow. He hastily retrieved a knife and a crumpled bag of white powder from his pocket, tossing them onto the ground. I was wrong. I'm just used to it. Level laborer, assigned to the mining team. Su Qing's voice was devoid of emotion. Your food rations will be halved for a week. Should there be a next time, you will be thrown out to feed the zombies. Li Hu's face turned ashen. But facing the drone with its flickering arcs, he dared not utter a sound and sheepishly walked towards another group of young men, the atmosphere somber. This was the new order established by Chun Mo, brutal, efficient, yet undeniably fair. Your value determines your treatment. As the selection progressed, thousands of survivors were swiftly categorized: skilled technicians, special talents, ordinary laborers, and penal laborers. All the weapons and supplies hoarded by Long Gu were confiscated and logged by Su Qing for redistribution. A new mobile settlement, centered around the homeward, was quietly taking shape at an astonishing pace amidst the ruins. Night deepened. As the selection neared its conclusion, only the final group remained before Su Qing. Most were elderly, weak, sick, and emaciated, their expressions numb, evidently the most oppressed among the Ark convoy. Su Qing's brow furrowed slightly, yet she patiently continued her registrations. Just then, her attention was drawn to a girl within the crowd. The girl appeared to be in her early 20s, clad in a tattered old jacket, as thin as a reed, seemingly capable of being toppled by a gust of wind. Her face was dirted, and her hair was a dull yellow. But most striking was the broken flower pot she clutched tightly, as if it were a treasure. Inside the pot was a completely withered plant, reduced to a bare stem. Next, Su Qing's voice was tinged with fatigue. The girl timidly approached, her head lowered, avoiding Su Qing's gaze. Name: Lu Luqing. Occupation: I am a master's student in botany from Jiangxing Agricultural University. The girl's voice was faint, filled with insecurity. Botany? In this wasteland where not even grass can grow. That profession sounds like a joke. Su Qing instinctively prepared to classify her as an ordinary level laborer in her notebook. Please, please, please. Lu Luqing seemed to summon all her courage, raising her head to meet Su Qing's eyes with an almost pleading expression. Can you give me a little water? My hope is about to die. Hope. Su Qing glanced at the bare plant stem in her arms, finding it hard to comprehend. To her, it was merely a withered remnant. It's my only surviving seed from the lab. It can live as long as it has clean water and sufficient light. Lu Luqing's voice trembled with the desperation of a child on the verge of losing a cherished toy. Su Qing's heart inexplicably stirred, yet reason told her it was futile. Just as she prepared to decline, her communicator suddenly blared with Lin Wan's voice, filled with shock and excitement. Su Qing, don't move. Whatever you do, don't touch that girl or her flower pot. Almost simultaneously, Lin Wan inside the vehicle was fixated on her control panel. Just moments ago, a drone tasked with surveillance had inadvertently scanned the withered branch held by Lu Luqing, triggering a bright red, top priority alert on the screen. Warning: unknown high-energy life form detected. The cellular structure of this plant exhibits exceptional environmental adaptability and energy conversion efficiency. The genetic sequence does not match any known terrestrial plants in the database. Preliminary analysis indicates that this plant possesses the ability to efficiently produce organic matter and oxygen in barren soil. It is a core element for constructing an ecological life support system. Lin Wan's mind exploded with realization. The ecological life support system. That was a top-tier functional module in the system blueprint, unlockable only under extremely stringent conditions, and existed solely in theory. It meant self-sufficiency in food. It meant the possibility of consuming truly fresh vegetables amidst this wasteland. And the key to unlocking all of this lay in the hands of that seemingly inconspicuous girl. Commander. Lin Wan abruptly turned to the man who had been resting with his eyes closed, her voice trembling with excitement. We've hit the jackpot. Chun Mo slowly opened his eyes. He cast a glance at the glaring red alert on Lin Wan's screen, then turned his gaze towards the surveillance footage, where a frail girl clutched a flower pot, utterly at a loss. A playful smirk curled at the corners of his mouth. He picked up the communicator and issued an unexpected command to Su Qing below. Su Qing, bring that girl named Lu Qingqing, along with her hopes, onto the vehicle. She shall receive the highest level of treatment. Chapter 36. Fresh vegetables, the highest level of treatment? For her? A scruffy girl grasping a dilapidated flower pot? I, at least, am an electrician, yet I have only been rated at a level. What grounds do they have for this? Whispers of suppressed discussions and skepticism arose from the crowd. Jealous and bewildered gazes pierced through to the girl, who appeared so frail that a mere gust of wind could topple her. Lu Qingqing was rendered speechless and frightened by this sudden upheaval and the scrutinizing stares around her. She tightened her grip on the flower pot, her pale face resembling that of a startled rabbit. Execute the command. Su Qing disregarded the doubts of the onlookers and directed the two combat drones beside her. The drones silently hovered to Lu Qingqing's sides, forming an irresistible protective stance. Follow me. Su Qing rose and personally guided the still-dazed girl towards the black fortress, which loomed like a prehistoric beast, quietly suspended in the air. As Lu Qingqing timidly ascended the slope, and entered the interior of the Ark, she was completely mesmerized. In stark contrast to the chaotic, dilapidated, and foul-smelling wasteland outside, the interior of the vehicle was immaculate and orderly, bathed in soft orange light. There was not a hint of unpleasant odor, only a faint, pleasant scent of disinfectant. The smooth metallic floor, the intricate control panels, and the sci-fi-inspired exclusive seats along either side, which she could not comprehend, all amazed her. With a resounding hiss, the pneumatic doors slammed shut behind her, completely isolating her from the noise and turmoil outside. The world instantly fell silent. This profound tranquility and sense of security brought a warmth to Lu Qingqing's eyes, nearly causing her tears to spill uncontrollably. "My goodness, Commander, where did you find this little pitiful creature?" A lively, curious voice broke the silence. Lu Qingqing turned to find a stylishly dressed girl, chewing on a lollipop, leaping down from an egg-shaped seat, her bright eyes scanning her with intrigue. "Don't frighten her." Another woman in a police uniform, a striking figure, approached, none other than Su Qing, who had brought Lu Qingqing aboard. At that moment, a petite figure burst forth from the rear of the compartment like a whirlwind. "Hurry, let me see. High-energy life form. Exceptional environmental adaptability. My heavens. This is truly a gift from the divine." Lin Wan dashed to Lu Qingqing's side, her eyes fixated on the tattered flower pot in the girl's embrace, as if it were the rarest treasure, nearly drooling with excitement. "Hello," Lu Qingqing stammered, shrinking back at the commotion. "All right, Lin Wan, don't scare her." Chun Mo's voice came from the driver's seat as he rose and walked towards Lu Qingqing, his gaze settling on the bare plant stalk. "I am Chun Mo, the commander of this vehicle." His voice was steady and powerful, exuding a reassuring strength. "Welcome aboard the Arkansas. I am Lu Qingqing." "I know," Chun Mo nodded. "I am also aware that what you hold is the hope for humanity's future." Without further ado, he confirmed Lu Qingqing's recruitment directly on his system interface. Ding. Level crew member Lu Qingqing confirmed for enlistment. Coexistence agreement activated, crew seat 1 assigned. Core element hope seed detected. Exclusive functional chamber ecological cycle chamber unlocked. Adaptive installation in progress. With a deep, resonant hum filled with high-tech essence, a previously unremarkable metallic wall in the rear of the compartment began to slide open, accompanied by intricate mechanical sounds. A brand new chamber, brimming with vitality, unfolded from the wall like a scroll. It was not a cold mechanical chamber. Rather, it resembled a small, futuristic greenhouse. Inside the semi-transparent walls, square cultivation slots automatically rose, filled with pale green, bubbling nutrient liquid. Above, rows of full-spectrum plant growth lights illuminated, radiating warmth akin to sunlight. An elaborate automatic sprinkler and temperature control system, composed of countless pipes and nozzles, commenced self-check operations. "Wow, are we going to farm inside the vehicle?" Mia exclaimed, dropping her lollipop in astonishment. "This setup is absolutely out of this world." Lin Wan was equally exhilarated, her cheeks flushed. She grasped Lu Qingqing's hand, explaining breathlessly. "This is the ecological cycle chamber. With it, we can achieve self-sufficiency in food and oxygen. We can finally have fresh vegetables. That plant you're holding is the key to it all. Fresh vegetables." The phrase made Lu Qingqing's eyes widen in disbelief. She gazed at the miraculous greenhouse before her, then looked down at the precious plant she cradled. For the first time, a spark of light ignited in her once dull eyes. "Come, place it inside." Encouraged by Lin Wan, Lu Qingqing, with trembling hands, carefully set the damaged flower pot onto the most central cultivation platform, resembling an altar within the greenhouse. As the flower pot was set down, numerous precise mechanical arms and probes emerged from beneath the platform, seamlessly relocating the plant along with its soil to a new nutrient base. A gentle stream of pale green, high-concentration nutrient solution began to flow in, and the full-spectrum growth lights intensified. A miracle unfolded. Under the astonished gazes of everyone, the previously desiccated ashen plant stalk visibly plumped and became vibrant. A faint yet resilient green began to emerge from the tip of the stalk. Soon, tender shoots unfurled at an extraordinary speed that defied the laws of nature. Then a second, a third. In mere minutes, the plant transformed from a lifeless twig into a flourishing green specimen. Its tendrils climbed upwards, blossoming into a small, yellow flower. As the flower withered, it bore fruit. A cherry-sized, translucent gem-like fruit, reminiscent of a ruby, formed on the vine, quickly becoming plump and round. Is this speed growing vegetables at light speed? Mia felt her worldview shatter anew. This was undoubtedly a divine intervention, as the vibrant red fruit emitted an enticing aroma. The mechanical arms of the cultivation platform precisely harvested it, sending it through a conveyor belt to the chamber outside. A perfect, flawless cherry tomato, resembling a work of art, lay quietly in a tray. Inside the vehicle, silence reigned. All eyes were fixed on the small fruit. They had not seen such fresh, vibrant food in a long time. Chun Mo picked up the cherry tomato, not for himself, but handed it to the already astonished Lu Qingqing. This is the first fruit born of your hope. Lu Qingqing stood in stunned silence as tears finally broke free from the dam of her emotions. Instead of consuming the fruit herself, she solemnly divided it into 4 segments. She retained one for herself and respectfully offered the remaining 3 to Chun Mo, Su Qing, and Lin Wan. Mia, who was stationed in the sky as a lookout, missed the initial wave. Chun Mo did not decline. He placed a small segment of fruit in his mouth. The crisp sound of a crunch echoed, followed by a burst of sweet and tangy juice, infused with the rich fragrance of nature, exploding in his mouth. This vibrant flavor ignited his taste buds in an instant. It was delicious, so delicious it brought tears to his eyes. In that moment, they consumed not merely a piece of fruit, but the essence of dignity in survival. The cornerstone for rebuilding their home, and a glimpse of a bright new future that belonged solely to them amidst the desolate wasteland. Chapter 37. Manipulation of spatial force fields. The roar of engines became the new heartbeat of the settlement. Under Su Qing's firm supervision, the previously chaotic Ark convoy was meticulously reorganized. The acrid scent of motor oil and metal welding replaced the stench of decay. Senior Technician Zhang Wei, accompanied by a crew of grease-covered men, tirelessly disassembled the junked vehicles into spare parts while resurrecting others. The triumphant roar of a successfully repaired diesel engine was their finest reward. Not far away, Surgeon Zhou Min transformed a large bus into a mobile clinic. Pristine white sheets, sterilized instruments, and rows of labeled medicine bottles formed an island of civilization amidst the wasteland. The most significant change, however, emerged from the dining table. When the first batch of vibrant red tomatoes and fresh green lettuce, cultivated in the ecological recycling chamber, was distributed, the entire camp fell silent. Many cradled their portions of freshness, shedding tears. They no longer had to gnaw on tasteless compressed biscuits and moldy cans. This was real food, imbued with the aroma of earth and sunlight. This singular transformation solidified Chun Mo's almost divine status more effectively than any display of force. What he offered was not merely shelter, but the dignity of existence. As life improved, Mia found herself growing restless. The routine patrols around the camp were a mere trifle for her drone squad. With the surrounding zombies cleared and no new threats emerging, she complained to Chun Mo from her high-tech egg chair, "Boss, I'm getting bored. Let me do something thrilling. Release the bats to scout around and see just how vast this world truly is." The bats referred to their top-tier military-grade reconnaissance drones seized from the hive. Equipped with optical invisibility, extended endurance, and highly resistant quantum communication links, they were undeniably the kings of reconnaissance. Chun Mo gazed at the strategic map projected in the air. Their current location was but an insignificant green dot in the vast gray expanse. He understood the necessity of venturing beyond their confines. Gaining knowledge of the surrounding world was crucial for their next phase of development. Approved, he stated succinctly, maintaining radio silence. The drones prioritized survival. Should they identify any strategically valuable targets, they were to report immediately. Understood. It's time to discover new maps. Mia's eyes sparkled with excitement. She cracked her fingers, her demeanor shifting from that of a languid house cat to a cheetah poised to enter a new hunting ground. The bat drone silently detached from the top of the ark, ascending vertically like a ghost, seamlessly blending into the dim clouds. The world unfolded beneath its optical lens. It traversed endless brownish plains, where the parched remnants of ancient highways resembled ugly scars. Rusted car skeletons lay abandoned like toys of giants. It soared over a broad riverbed, now reduced to cracked earth and yellow sands. Passing through smaller towns and industrial zones, it found them all stripped bare, silent as tombs. There were no signs of life, not even vast hordes of corpses. This was a realm of true desolation. Mia, focused on controlling the drone, felt a chill even within the warmth of the cabin. The vastness of this apocalypse was a suffocating pressure. After nearly 3 hours of continuous flight, pushing the drone's effective communication range to its limits, a shadow appeared on the horizon. It was not a mountain, but a dense, jagged skyline, a super metropolis. Even from a distance, Mia sensed its oppressive aura. The buildings towered higher and were more densely packed, forming an endless jungle of steel. This city was of an entirely different magnitude compared to Jiangxing. "Boss, I think I've discovered a new server," Mia murmured over the communication channel. "The density of monsters here is likely off the charts. The bat lowered its altitude, its invisibility coating merging with the shadows of the skyscrapers, slipping into the canyon of steel and glass, becoming a silent observer in this city of death. The drone's sensors were instantly triggered. Thousands of red dots flooded the area's scan. They surged through the streets, coalescing into a slow yet unstoppable river of decaying flesh. The terrifying number was enough to send chills down anyone's spine. Mia cautiously maneuvered the drone, hiding behind a massive, shattered billboard. She activated the high-magnification optical zoom to discern what could possibly attract such a vast horde of corpses. The lens focused. At the epicenter of the zombie tide was a small, agile figure, a girl. She appeared to be no older than her teens, clad in a dirty, oversized hoodie. She ran with astonishing speed and agility, leaping over abandoned cars and sliding past collapsed obstacles, her movements fluid yet desperate. However, the horde was too immense. The encirclement was tightening. "Damn it," she's cornered, Mia whispered, gripping the controller tightly. A sense of helplessness washed over her. The drone was unarmed. And even if it were, facing such numbers was futile. The girl was forced into an alleyway. Zombies surged in like a tide, their roars merging into a deafening cacophony. Death was imminent. Mia could hardly bear to watch. But just as the first zombie's claws were about to reach the girl, an unbelievable scene unfolded. The girl's figure flickered. In less than half a second, her body seemed to turn transparent, distorted by static, like a poorly transmitted image. Then, she vanished, disappeared into thin air. She did not flee or hide. She simply ceased to exist in that alley. Mia's jaw dropped in shock. The drone's camera frantically scanned the surroundings. Then, it found her, on the rooftop of a 5-story building, 100 meters away. The girl's figure reappeared, staggering a few steps before collapsing to the ground, gasping for breath. She had teleported. Mia's mind went blank, her understanding of this world shattered completely. This was not science. It was magic. She was about to scream into the communicator when, in that instant, a voice deeper and more profound than any scream resonated within Chunmo's mind, reverberating with cold, mechanical power capable of shaking the very heavens. Ding. Detection of an ultra-rare survivor with a high compatibility level. Individual specialization determination. Spatial force field manipulation. Rating, unique. This individual is the sole adapter for unlocking the ultimate functional chamber. Spatial jump engine. Warning. Target's vital signs are feeble. It is recommended that the commander, at all costs, initiate immediate retrieval. Chapter 38. Expedition. The cold mechanical voice echoed in Chunmo's mind like a sledgehammer, striking harshly at his nerves. Warning. Target's vital signs are feeble. It is recommended that the commander, at all costs, initiate immediate retrieval. The sole adapter. At all costs. Vital signs feeble. Each word pierced through the momentary calm of Chunmo's heart like a searing dagger. This signified a race against death. A struggle for the singular key that could unlock the future's prison. Mia, maintain drone surveillance. Lock onto her last known position and life signal. Su Qing, Lin Wan. To the conference room, immediately. Chunmo's voice was resolute, instantly shattering the previously jubilant atmosphere within the cabin. The 3 crew members were swiftly affected by the sudden tension, their smiles vanishing as they sprang into action. Before heading to the conference room, Chunmo issued commands to the temporary leader of the settlement through the internal communication channel. Zhang Wei, Zhou Min, listen up. Yes, Chief, came their spirited responses from the receiver. I will be away for a while. You will be in full charge of the settlement's daily management and defense. Su Qing will leave a squad of combat drones to assist you. Remember my rule. Anyone who dares disrupt will be dealt with mercilessly. Understood. The simple instructions weighed heavily with significance. This was trust and a command. Once everything was arranged, Chunmo strode purposefully into the conference room of the Arkansas. This settlement served merely as a temporary refuge. The vessel that could carry his ambitions needed the capability to traverse the stars and seas. Inside the conference room, the holographic map was already unfurled, revealing a jagged landscape representing the super metropolis, where a dim red flickered ominously. Su Qing, Lin Wan, and Mia were already in position, their expressions solemn. Boss, the signal is too weak and continues to deteriorate, like a candle flickering in the wind. It could extinguish at any moment. Mia indicated towards the red dot, her tone devoid of its usual playfulness. Chunmo approached the map, his gaze intense. Our next target is here. He pointed to the red dot, codenamed Yaoguang. Yaoguang. Su Qing furrowed her brow. Isn't that the girl Mia saw through the drone? What makes her so special that we risk entering an unknown super city? Her ability is spatial jumping, Chunmo calmly revealed, a statement that could overturn everyone's understanding. The room fell silent. Mia's mouth formed an OAS. She recalled the astonishing scene. Spatial jumping? Is that real? No wonder. I saw her vanish in an instant and thought I was seeing things. Isn't she like a living flash dagger? Lin Wan's eyes ignited with a near-manic scientific fervor. Adjusting her glasses, her voice trembled slightly. Spatial jumping, Commander, do you mean? Exactly, Chen Mo affirmed. His voice low yet undeniably firm. She is the key to unlocking the ultimate functional chamber, the spatial jump engine. The words spatial jump engine detonated in the hearts of the three girls like a bombshell. Su Qing's breath caught momentarily. As the most rational pragmatist, she understood more than anyone the apocalyptic strategic value behind those words. It signified instant, long-distance strategic relocation. It meant that no horde or natural disaster could ever trap them again. It meant they would transform from a team of struggling survivors into true overlords, able to survey the wasteland beneath them. With it, we can genuinely break free from the shackles of this wasteland. Chen Mo gazed at the map, his eyes deep. Natural disasters and hordes will no longer be our prison. The three girls exchanged glances, a mixture of shock, understanding, and an ignited ambition flickering in their eyes. The risks were immense, but the rewards promised a new world. I understand, Su Qing was the first to express, clenching her fists. I will begin inventorying weapons and supplies. Ready to depart at a moment's notice. Let's do this. To board the ark equipped for teleportation. Even if it means charging through a mountain of blades and a sea of fire. Mia exclaimed, her face brimming with excitement. Chen Mo regarded his three core members, a smile curling at the corners of his mouth. He required no pre-battle motivation. The objective itself was the strongest stimulant. He issued the command to depart with a single word, go. The upgraded ark soared silently like a dark, imposing mountain, ascending before the awestruck gaze of the settlement's survivors. Gliding over the ruins towards the distant steel jungle, the pursuit had commenced. Within the cabin, the atmosphere grew tense once more. Mia was wholly focused, seated upon her throne, her fingers dancing over the spherical controller, tracking the faint signal that flickered in and out amidst the urban ruins. Found it. At a shopping mall ruin 3 kilometers southeast. The life signal is very weak, but it's still there. Mia's voice brimmed with urgency. Full speed ahead. The ark accelerated sharply, its massive form deftly navigating the complex ruins. Akin to a prehistoric crocodile closing in on its prey. The distance rapidly diminished, and the red dot on the map grew clearer. 1 kilometer, 800 meters. 500 meters. Just as they believed success was imminent, an unexpected occurrence transpired. Damn it, Mia cursed, slapping the control panel in frustration. The signal vanished. She jumped again. On the holographic map, the red dot representing hope flickered twice before completely disappearing, leaving only a faint, rapidly dissipating ripple of spatial distortion in its wake. Curse it. So close. Mia bit her lip in dissatisfaction, her vigilance heightened. Su Qing calmly analyzed the situation. This area is dense with skyscrapers. The terrain is too complex, with hiding spots everywhere. In her perception, our fortress is like a sun in the night. As soon as we draw near, she will instantly jump away. The pursuit had, from the outset, fallen into a stalemate. They were like an aircraft carrier attempting to capture a small fish amidst a coral reef, clumsy and utterly inefficient. The command room fell into silence once more. The deathly quiet super metropolis mocked their helplessness with its intricate steel framework. Chen Mo stared out at the endless expanse of abandoned skyscrapers, his fingers rhythmically tapping on the armrest of his seat. His expression bore no hint of frustration. After a moment, he spoke slowly, his voice calm enough to send chills down one's spine. Our size is a disadvantage, but we possess other advantages. He turned to Mia, his eyes gleaming with sharp intensity. Mia, release the swarm. Mia hesitated for a moment. Then a bold idea flashed through her mind, her eyes instantly lighting up. Boss. You mean? Precisely, Chen Mo's voice was cold and clear. Since our net cannot capture her, we shall employ an invisible net instead. With the deployment of microdrones, I intend to cast a comprehensive search net over the entire city, keen to observe her every move. In this metropolis, I am the all-seeing eye. Chapter 39. Capture. As Chen Mo issued his command, a spark of excitement flickered in Mia's eyes. She licked her lips, her fingers dancing swiftly over the spherical controller, resembling a general poised to command a vast army. Swarm mode, activate. Release all units. The thick memory alloy armor atop the ark silently slid open, revealing dozens of honeycomb-shaped launch ports. In the next instant, thousands of minuscule drones, no larger than fingernails, surged forth from the openings like a plume of black smoke. They hovered momentarily in the air, coalescing into a massive, dense black square, before bursting apart in an instant, transforming into thousands of inconspicuous black dots, seamlessly merging into the silent steel jungle, vanishing into the shadows of the ruins. In this super city, an invisible, citywide web had taken shape in mere minutes. Inside the command center of the cabin, the atmosphere turned grave and solemn. The enormous holographic screen was divided into hundreds of tiny squares, each representing the real-time perspective of a drone. Countless images cascaded like a waterfall: abandoned streets, collapsed buildings, rusted car wrecks, and the occasional fleeting glimpse of mutated creatures in the shadows. A torrent of data flowed ceaselessly through the quantum communication link, continuously feeding into Mia's control hub. It was an unprecedented vantage point, akin to a god's oversight. Yet amidst this boundless wreckage, locating a deliberately concealed figure remained akin to searching for a needle in a haystack. As time ticked away, beads of sweat formed on Mia's forehead, her gaze fixated to the utmost degree, her mind operating at full capacity, processing an overwhelming stream of information capable of driving ordinary individuals to the brink of insanity. Not found yet. Su Qing's voice was low, her eyes fixed on the screen, brows furrowed. Don't worry, she won't escape. Mia bit her lip. My little darlings have already covered 70% of the core urban area. As long as she breathes, I will unearth her. At that moment, a small square in the center of the screen suddenly flickered with a bright red warning border. Found her. Mia's spirit surged as she swiftly switched the square's image to the main screen. The high-definition image immediately captured everyone's attention. In a back alley piled high with decaying refuse, a ragged, frail girl was half kneeling in the trash, cautiously searching for something with a rusty rebar. She appeared to be merely a teenager, her small face obscured by grime, with only her eyes visible, resembling a startled fawn, filled with anxiety and wariness. She was Yao Guang. It seemed she had discovered something. As she carefully extracted a piece of moldy bread from a stinking pile of packaging, instead of consuming it immediately, she swiftly tucked it into her clothing, preparing to leave at once. However, it was too late. Shadows darted from the alley's entrance like phantoms. They were 3 mutated hyenas, each the size of a lion. Their fur had long since fallen away, revealing dark red muscle tissue beneath, with bony spikes growing along their backs, and their mouths dripped with putrid saliva. They had completely blocked off all escape routes for Yao Guang, advancing step by step, emitting low, guttural growls filled with a thirst for blood. Yao Guang let out a short, startled cry, her face turning pale as her body trembled violently from sheer terror. Just as the leading mutated hyena lunged forward, an anomaly occurred. The space around Yao Guang seemed to ripple violently, as if a stone had been thrown into a pond, creating a visible distortion. Her figure became blurred and transparent within the warped ripples. In the next second, she vanished into thin air. The hyena's massive jaws snapped at the empty space, its tremendous momentum causing it to crash into the wall behind with a deafening thud. It stared blankly at the vacant ground, unable to comprehend why its prey had suddenly disappeared. The signal appeared at 3 o'clock, on the rooftop of a building 800 meters away. Mia's voice rang out, infused with the thrill of discovery. She jumped. Pursue. Chen Mo's command was succinct. The Ark's repulsion floating engine roared to life, transforming the massive vehicle into a black phantom. Deftly navigating through the ruins at speeds far surpassing conventional vehicles, racing towards the coordinates Mia had provided. However, upon their arrival at the building's base, Mia's expression darkened. Damn it, she's gone again. The new coordinates shifted to 9 o'clock, 1,200 meters away. The Ark adjusted its course once more, but the outcome remained unchanged. They were like hunters pursuing an elusive ghost, each time they arrived at the destination brimming with hope, only to find the faint residual ripples in space and the energy readings on the Lin 1 detector rapidly diminishing. Yao Guang's figure consistently vanished just moments before their arrival. Damn it. After several failed pursuits, Mia struck the control panel in frustration. We clearly locked onto her, so why are we always just a step behind? The atmosphere in the command center shifted from initial excitement to a grave and irritable tension. Her jumps are not random. Lin Wan, who had been silent until now, suddenly spoke. She stood before her engineering station, where a complex, 3-dimensional map of the city was displayed on the holographic screen. Blue data streams traced the trajectory of Yao Guang's every spatial leap across the map. Look, Lin Wan pointed to the trajectory chart, her expression serious. Each of her landing points has precisely avoided our route, deliberately increasing the distance between us. More importantly, she is not merely evading our vehicle. She brought up another set of data, showcasing the energy radiation map of the Ark and the distribution of life signals in the vicinity. She is instinctively avoiding large energy sources and densely populated areas. Our ark, to her, is like an exceedingly bright sun in the night, glaring and perilous. The moment we approach, she will leap away as if scalded by fire. Lin Wan's analysis plunged everyone into silence. In essence, she was evading them. Su Qing furrowed her brows, arriving at the final conclusion. The truth was disheartening. Yao Guang resembled a specter amidst the ruins, possessing the finest counter-detection instincts. As long as their colossal steel fortress continued to move and radiate formidable energy, they would never be able to draw close to her. The pursuit, shortly after its commencement, had descended into a stalemate. Chapter 40. The killing game. 2 consecutive days of pursuit yielded no results. The atmosphere inside the ark felt stifling, as if a solid block of lead weighed heavily on everyone's hearts. Mia anxiously tugged at her hair, spinning her egg-shaped seat, muttering inaudibly various curses. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! It's like playing a game with a 30,000-second delay. I see her, but when I click the mouse, nothing happens. The citywide drone network had become her stage for showcasing prowess, yet also a testament to her humiliation. Each precise lock-on resulted in her opponent's even swifter disappearance. And this feeling of being toyed with was driving her to the brink of madness. Su Qing embraced her arms, silently polishing her assault rifle. Before her, the tactical tablet displayed a multitude of capture plans, each marked in vivid red with failure. The cold touch of the weapon kept her composed, yet her tightly furrowed brows betrayed her inner turmoil. Lin Wan, on the other hand, immersed herself in a sea of data, repeatedly analyzing Yao Guang's every leap and the remnants of energy. However, all data pointed to a singular, despairing conclusion. The opponent's counter-surveillance was instinctual, a part of their very nature. As long as the homeward, radiating potent energy and life signals, drew near, the specter would never voluntarily reveal itself. The pursuit had devolved into a complete stalemate. This could not continue. Chun Mo's voice shattered the silence of the command room. Rising from his seat, he approached the holographic map. After 2 sleepless days, his eyes were bloodshot, yet his spirit was as sharp as a freshly forged blade. All eyes turned to him. We cannot match her speed, so let us compel her to halt. Chun Mo's finger traced the map, finally landing heavily on a vast, desolate area. The central square. Mia leaned closer, puzzled. Boss, this place is exposed on all sides. Why are we stopping here? To become a live target? Precisely, to become a live target. A mad smile curled Chun Mo's lips, envisioning a target that could draw the fire of the entire city. He called up the city's thermal map, where the red dots representing zombies clustered densely, akin to stars on a summer night. We shall host a grand party here. The guests of honor will be the city's zombies, and we shall be the sole cake at this festivity. Su Qing instantly grasped Chun Mo's intention. Her expression shifting. This is far too reckless. The number of zombies drawn here is incalculable. Once we are surrounded by the horde, we want to even have a chance to escape. Escape? Chun Mo countered. When have we ever needed to flee? Yao Guang is a lone wolf struggling for survival among the ruins. She fears the zombies, but she also fears our formidable, organized power. Thus, as we pursue her, she will run. He paused, his gaze deepening. But what if we become the hunted? When the entire city transforms into a hell's cape, the only sanctuary left will be us at the eye of the storm. When the prey becomes the sole refuge, the specter hiding in the shadows will have no choice but to step forward, choosing the lesser danger in her eyes. This plan was audacious, bold, yet it tapped into the deepest fears and survival instincts of the heart. Lin Wan's eyes sparkled with a blend of excitement and apprehension as she swiftly calculated the feasibility, theoretically possible. However, the scale of the zombie horde is unpredictable, posing the highest risk. Let us do it, Mia exclaimed, slapping her thigh, shaking off her earlier despondence, and standing up with enthusiasm. I love this uncertainty. Isn't it just about attracting attention? I'm eager to see if she can outrun the entire city's zombie comrades. Su Qing, gazing into Chun Mo's unwavering eyes, took a deep breath and ultimately nodded. I understand. I will check the weapon systems and adjust the ammunition reserves to maximum. With the command issued, the slumbering beast known as Homeward stirred once more. Instead of chasing that elusive signal, it altered its course, gliding silently towards the heart of the city, like a black phantom ship. The expansive square loomed large, resembling a standard airport, surrounded by skyscrapers that stood like prehistoric beasts. Once a symbol of this super metropolis's prosperity, it now lay in desolation and silence. The Homeward came to a steady stop at the very center of the square, akin to a solitary black piece placed at the center of a chessboard, both isolated and conspicuous. Lin Wan, commence, Chun Mo's voice emanated through the internal comms. Cold and steady. Received. Lin Wan's face tightened as she solemnly pressed several red buttons at her engineering station. Subsonic resonance device, activate. A hum reverberated as an invisible, low-frequency sound wave, imperceptible to the human ear, radiated outward from the homeward, expanding like ripples on the surface of water. Within the cabin, the water in the cups began to ripple, while the air vibrated with a sensation that made one's teeth ache, as though an unseen behemoth was breathing heavily from the depths of the earth. The frequency of this sound wave had been meticulously calculated to perfectly mimic the life pulsations of a colossal creature exceeding 100 meters in size, slumbering. It penetrated concrete, steel, and the city's facade of silence, reaching every hidden, ravenous hunter lurking in the shadows. But that was not sufficient. Engines to maximum overload. Amplify the noise. Chen Mo commanded once more. Understood. Lin Wan gritted her teeth, pushing the energy supply valve of the engines into the red danger zone. Boom, boom, boom. The once silent homeward erupted with a ferocious roar akin to the awakening of an ancient beast. The immense sound wave rolled forth, shattering the loose glass of the surrounding buildings into fragments. A dual attraction, a simulated heartbeat as a signal, and an unmistakable proclamation of absolute existence. This lethal combination awakened the slumbering Death City in mere seconds. The ground began to quake violently. It felt as though thousands of troops were charging from every direction toward this very spot. Mia maneuvered the few remaining bat drones into the sky. The aerial views transmitted back from the drones left everyone in the command room breathless. Surrounding the central square, from every street, alley, and ruin, a dark tide of zombies surged forth like a deluge of black water, pouring out from every capillary of the city. Ordinary zombies, agile lickers, hulking brutes, and even unidentifiable aberrations mingled together to form an unstoppable torrent of death. Their singular target, the steel construct at the center of the square, issuing a tremendous provocation. The scene resembled a multitude of rivers converging into the sea. Only this river was composed of decaying flesh, and this sea was an ocean of endless death. My God! Weevee stirred the zombie nest. Mia murmured, gazing at the screen filled with an unquantifiable number of red dots. The advance of the horde was far swifter than they had imagined. In just a few minutes, the leading wave of zombies had reached the very edge of the square. Their collective roars coalesced into a terrifying cacophony that made the Homeward's armor tremble slightly. The Homeward had become an island surrounded by a sea of death. Chen Mo displayed no emotion on his face as he calmly surveyed the oncoming tide of death from every direction, his gaze as frigid as an unmelting glacier. He slowly pressed the final button. All hatches sealed. Prepare for impact. Chapter 41. Yao Wang joins her strength was rapidly dwindling like sand through an hourglass. Yao Wang could distinctly feel that each brief leap drained her already scarce energy. Her lungs felt as if they were filled with molten lava, each breath bringing forth searing pain. Behind her, the relentless liquor pursued her like a parasite, its trademark nauseating crawling sound and the foul, glistening tongue brushing past her ear became the drumbeats of her impending demise. She resembled a mouse cornered and desperate, darting awkwardly between the intricate buildings. Each distortion of space sent a sharp, tearing pain through her mind. Her abilities were becoming unstable, and the edges of her vision began to flicker with static, akin to a poor signal. This could not continue. She needed to make a long-distance leap to completely evade the monstrosity. A coordinate she had long since marked as a temporary refuge materialized in her mind, the central square. It was spacious, with an unobstructed view. Typically one of the few places in the city devoid of massive hordes of corpses. This was her last chance. Yao Wang bit her lip, forcing the pain to dispel the dizziness clouding her mind, concentrating her dwindling mental energy into a singular point. Jump! The space around her twisted violently. The world before her stretched into a chaotic array of colorful lines. In the next instant, light and shadow solidified. She had succeeded. She appeared at the edge of the central square. However, what greeted her was not the anticipated silence and safety, but a cataclysmic spectacle capable of shattering the sanity of any onlooker. Upon her arrival, she was momentarily paralyzed. First came the sound, a cacophony of roars, numbering in the tens or even hundreds of thousands, converging into a terrifying wave that seemed intent on shaking her very soul from her body. Then came the sight. At the heart of the square, an endless, churning sea of decaying flesh and blood swirled, with a colossal steel beast resembling a black reef at its center. Finally, there was the sensation. As a spatial manipulator, her perception of life signals far surpassed ordinary humans. Yet now, the densely packed life signals in this area transformed in her mind from mere points of light into billions of searing steel needles, stabbing into every neuron. Ah! A muffled cry of agony escaped Yao Guang's lips, her mind blanking out in an instant. Her once proud spatial awareness had spiraled into chaos within this unprecedented, pollution-level sea of signals. She attempted to leap again, but found herself incapable of locking onto any stable spatial coordinates. To her perception, the entire space had morphed into a boiling cauldron of murky impurities. Her abilities were rendered useless, and the ocean of corpses had detected the fresh prey that had just fallen into its depths. The nearest batch of zombies, sensing the scent of blood like sharks, swiftly redirected their course towards her. Their hollow, murky eye sockets ignited with a ravenous hunger for fresh flesh. Screaming and roaring, they lunged at her. In that moment, Yao Guang even forgot her fear. Only an endless, cold despair remained in her heart. It was akin to playing a game to the final level, only to have the server crash, erasing her progress. This sense of helplessness engulfed her entirely. Just as the black-clawed hands were about to tear her throat open, a deep, resonant hum, sharply contrasting the surrounding clamor, suddenly erupted from the center of the square, drowning out all the roars. Yao Guang instinctively looked up. She witnessed the most shocking and incomprehensible scene of her life. The steel fortress at the square's center, under relentless assault from the horde, suddenly unleashed dozens of ethereal blue flames from its base. That massive steel construct, weighing hundreds of tons, defied the laws of physics, slowly ascending above the heads of the zombies. With a series of precise mechanical sounds, the heavy armored plates at the fortress's base slid apart, revealing dozens of dark, glimmering gun barrels below. The sight resembled a mechanical deity awakening in a purgatory, preparing to unleash divine wrath. A cold, emotionless male voice boomed through the loudspeaker, resonating like thunder across the square. Open fire. The moment the command was issued, a storm of bullets erupted violently from those gun barrels, intertwining in midair to form an enormous net woven from lead and death, instantly enveloping the area surrounding Yao Guang. As the bullet storm swept through, time seemed to hit the delete key. The zombies that had lunged toward Yao Guang were torn apart upon contact with the barrage, like tomatoes thrown into an industrial shredder, disintegrating into a storm of flesh and black blood. In merely a second, an absolute vacuum zone, with a radius exceeding 20 meters centered around Yao Guang, was violently cleared. Amidst the smoke and blood mist, the steel deity gradually descended, coming to a halt before her, casting a massive shadow that enveloped her completely. The pneumatic door opened with a hiss, and a beam of clean, bright light shone from within, like a staircase leading to heaven, laid before her muddy feet. A tall figure stood in the doorway, backlit, extending a hand toward her with a calm voice that carried an undeniable authority. Get in, you are safe now. Yao Guang stared blankly at him, at that clean, powerful hand, at the light that separated her from the surrounding hell. The days of fleeing, hunger, fear, and despair, every nerve stretched to its limit and her already battered psychological defenses, collapsed utterly in the face of absolute power and the sudden sense of security. She did not even think. Her body reacted instinctively before her mind could catch up. Trembling, she stepped forward, one foot after another, walking into the light. Ding. Detected ultra-rare compatibility, Survivor Yao Guang. Compatibility test complete. 99. Specialization direction, spatial dimension. High compatibility pilot Yao Guang confirmed to join. Exclusive strategic function module, spatial leap engine unlocked. Chapter 42. Cold nuclear fusion reactor. Yao Guang believed she had entered paradise. Warm water cascaded from above, washing away the hardened dirt and scabs that had accumulated on her skin. As the hot water soaked her cracked skin, an almost tear-inducing comfort spread through her limbs. This was her first hot bath since the apocalypse began. Outside the bathroom, a set of clean, soft cotton clothes awaited her. When she stepped out, still a bit shy, she was greeted not with cold, indifferent stares, but with a steaming bowl of meat porridge. A pretty girl named Mia, sucking on a lollipop, shoved the bowl into her hands and said casually, "Hurry up and eat. Lin Wan had the kitchen add extra ingredients for you to replenish your strength. You look as thin as a bean sprout." Yao Guang held the bowl of fragrant meat porridge, sipping it slowly, tears unexpectedly streaming down her face, mingling with the porridge as she swallowed. A week later, Yao Guang had fully adapted to life within the fortress. Abundant food, a warm bed, and kind companions had allowed her nerves, which had been perpetually taut in the ruins, to finally relax completely. She was no longer the specter scavenging for food in a garbage heap, always at risk of being torn apart by monsters. She had returned to being a teenage girl. After cleansing her face of grime, a delicate yet slightly pallid visage emerged, revealing eyes that once reflected only terror and vigilance. now infused with the vivacity and curiosity befitting her age. Undoubtedly, she remained acutely aware of her worth. Throughout the week, she spent the majority of her time in the company of Lin Wan, a girl who appeared to be of similar age, donned spectacles, often lost in thought, yet whose eyes sparkled with enthusiasm when discussing work. Lin Wan became her dedicated mentor. Under her guidance, Yao Wang began a systematic exploration of how to harness her abilities. Your power transcends mere teleportation. That is the most rudimentary application, Lin Wan explicated, gesturing towards the intricate spatial models displayed on the holographic screen. As Yao Wang sat cross-legged on the floor, you are a natural space regulator. What you must do is not to violently tear through space, but to sense it, to comprehend it, and then, like origami, gently fold distant points together. See, Lin Wan demonstrated by manipulating the model, connecting two distant light points with a smooth curve and then folding the curve, causing the points to coincide instantaneously. Yao Wang nodded, her understanding nebulous, as she closed her eyes and began to attune herself to the omnipresent dimensions of space around her. Simultaneously, the latter half of the Ark's carriage was undergoing a monumental transformation. With the theoretical blueprints provided by Lin Wan and the technical team led by Zhang Wei working tirelessly, a brand new, sci-fi-inspired independent cabin was successfully installed in the core area of the Arkansas. This was Yao Wang's exclusive cockpit, also the heart of the future space jump engine. When Yao Wang first entered this cockpit, resembling a silver eggshell, an unprecedented sense of familiarity washed over her. There were no complex buttons or levers. Before her hovered two silver metallic orbs, softly glowing with white light. The moment she gently placed her hands upon the orbs, she felt her mental energy connect with the entire fortress, as if the Ark had become an extension of her very being. Ding! On that day, a chilling system notification echoed from the Ark's main control computer. Space Jump Engine Module installation complete. Short-range jumps now possible, with a coordinate error of 50 meters. Upon hearing this news, Lin Wan nearly leaped with excitement, while Mia whistled, "Well done, little Yao Wang. Our mobile fortress is truly on its way to becoming a cosmic battleship. Anyone who dares oppose us, we shall confront them head-on." Chen Mo's reaction was markedly more composed. He summoned all core members to convene in the meeting room before the holographic map for the inaugural strategic meeting regarding the jump. The engine is installed, but our energy reserves only suffice for a single short-range leap, Chen Mo declared, his gaze sweeping over Su Qing, Lin Wan, and Mia. Thus, for our first jump, we must acquire resources that will fundamentally enhance our capabilities. His finger slowly traced the vast holographic map, eventually pausing on a solitary island surrounded by deep blue ocean. Storms Point Military Base, he emphasized. This place. Su Qing frowned. The data indicates that this base has been completely severed from the mainland due to an earthquake and continental shelf fracture, with the surrounding waters teeming with reefs and storms, making it unreachable by any conventional means. Why venture to such a desolate location? Precisely because it is inaccessible. It retains the most intact treasures, Lin Wan interjected, her eyes glinting with a near-greedy light, akin to a dragon beholding an unparalleled gem. She called up another technical document, projecting it beside the map. According to our analysis of the confiscated data from the Tiandun Company, Storms Point Base served as an energy experimental center for a secret military project from the old era. Our true objective is not the armory within, but... Her voice paused, articulating each word with emphasis, a miniaturized, military-grade cold fusion reactor. Cold fusion reactor. The mere mention of this phrase caused even the usually irreverent Mia to suppress her smile. Everyone understood the implications of such a discovery. It signified near-limitless energy, allowing the Ark's weapon systems, defense systems, and levitation engines to operate at maximum capacity without restraint. This meant that the mobile fortress would transform from a meticulously budgeted converted RV into a true, tireless steel behemoth capable of dominating the wasteland. With it, we would genuinely possess the qualifications to act freely in this desolate expanse. Chen Mo's voice marked the final punctuation of this audacious venture. In light of its immense strategic value, all risks appeared trivial. "I have no objections," Su Qing stated first, her gaze sharp. "Let us do this. For unlimited firepower. Let us go all in." Mia raised her fist in agreement. Chen Mo nodded, directing his gaze toward Yao Wang, who had remained silent since the meeting commenced. "Yao Wang, do you have confidence?" The girl lifted her head, looking at the man who had rescued her from the depths of despair, then at her companions who, despite their brief acquaintance, had enveloped her in a familial warmth. She nodded emphatically, her voice soft yet resolute. "Yes." "Good." Chen Mo turned, issuing commands. "All personnel, prepare for the jump." Within the Ark, The atmosphere turned solemn. Su Qing returned to her weapons control station. Lin Wan monitored all data from the engineering console, while Mia operated the drones to finalize the coordinate calibration for the jump target. Taking a deep breath, Yao Guang once again settled into her silver eggshell cockpit. As her hands gently rested upon the two floating silver orbs, the entire fortress seemed to pulse as her heart beat. Coordinates locked. Storms Point Military Base helipad. Energy infusion commencing. With Lin Wan's report, the arc vibrated violently, emitting an unprecedented, intense hum. A tremendous surge of energy flowed from the core, racing through countless circuits and fervently pouring into the newly birthed jump engine. The lights within the fortress flickered chaotically, and the air filled with the scent of ozone. Yao Guang closed her eyes, acutely sensing an earth-shattering power coursing through her hands and merging with the steel construct beneath her. Outside, the previously silent ruins began to twist and undulate like a disturbed water surface, eventually stretching into a myriad of vibrant and chaotic colors. Chapter 43, The Leap Leap. With Yao Guang's clear command, the warped world of colorful lines shattered like glass pressed upon the pause button. In the next moment, light and shadow coalesced. Accompanied by a jarring tremor as the metal structure strained under the weight, the arc seemed to be violently expelled from an unseen dimension, crashing heavily onto the solid ground. A rush of cold air, mingled with the salty tang of seawater and metallic rust, flooded in from the circulation system. Jump completed. Energy consumption at 78%. The chilling system notification fell like a bucket of cold water on the fervent excitement that had just ignited among the group. We did it. Mia unfastened her seatbelt and was the first to leap toward the porthole, exclaiming in exhilaration, utterly oblivious to the terrifying energy consumption figures flashing before her. I declare that from this day forth, the homestead has officially entered the era of teleportation. Sister Yao Guang is incredible. From now on, if anyone displeases me, I'll leap right onto their heads and unleash my fury. Outside the window lay an unimaginably vast and desolate world. An enormous helipad was littered with countless wrecks of fighter jets, stretching infinitely into the horizon. Those long-rusted aircraft stood like the skeletons of colossal beasts, silently narrating the glory that once graced this place beneath the somber sky. Yet, before Mia's cheers could fade, a piercing alarm echoed throughout the homestead without warning. Blood-red warning lights flashed wildly, casting an ominous glow upon every face. Su Qing's voice rose above the din, as calm as ancient ice. Alarm. The base's automatic defense system has been activated. Numerous high-energy reactions detected. Before her words could settle, chaos erupted. The ground of the helipad split open, revealing heavy metal plates disguised as tiles, which slid apart to reveal menacing automated rapid-fire turrets rising like poisonous mushrooms from the depths of hell, their dark muzzles gleaming with deadly red light. In the distance, hidden doors on hangars and towers swung open, activating various combat robots. Some resembled agile metallic spiders, while others acted as mobile weapon platforms, their cold electronic eyes locking onto the uninvited homestead. Before anyone could respond, a tempest of steel descended upon them. The air filled with the sound of bullets and small energy beams, weaving a crossfire net akin to a formidable metallic deluge, crashing down upon the homestead. Faced with this saturation assault capable of obliterating an armored convoy in an instant, Chun Mo remained utterly unperturbed. He had yet to take his seat at the controls, casually observing the dazzling trajectories on the main screen, as if relishing a fireworks display unrelated to him. Standard procedure, he remarked nonchalantly, as if critiquing a home-cooked meal. Su Qing, take charge. Understood. A sharp glint flickered in Su Qing's eyes. Her hands blurred over the weapon control panel. The recently upgraded electromagnetic rapid-fire cannon on the roof of the homestead silently ascended, emitting no roar, only a disquieting hum of electricity gathering within the barrel. The next moment, the targeting commenced. Whoosh! A blue beam, nearly imperceptible to the naked eye, flashed forth. 300 meters away, a turret spewing flames was instantly pierced along with its base, erupting into a massive fireball. Without a moment's hesitation, Su Qing adjusted her aim with a deft tap on the control screen. Whoosh! Another blue streak. A sniper turret atop a high tower had its barrel cleanly severed just before firing, falling impotently downward. Under Su Qing's nearly human precision, the electromagnetic rapid-fire cannon transformed into an elegant and deadly brush, each targeted strike blooming into a brilliant explosion across the helipad. The once guardians of this base, the Steel Sentinels, now resembled fragile porcelain dolls awaiting shattering. Boss, there's a loose end on the left wing. A swarm of tin spiders is approaching. Mia shouted over the comms. Let them come, Chun Mo replied, his voice still calm. He turned to another screen displaying the internal structure of the base, his thoughts already beyond these appetizers. Dozens of spider-like combat robots dashed from their cover, swiftly approaching the side of the homestead. They raised their forelimbs, revealing plasma cutters and high-frequency blades, lunging toward the homestead's armor. Yet, what awaited them was an absolute force of dominance. Shinemo couldn't even be bothered to employ weaponry. He merely issued a straightforward command through tactics: engage crush mode. The massive form of the homestead suddenly executed a lateral drift. The thrust levitation engines provided immense torque, propelling the several hundred tons of steel behemoth like an uncontrollable bowling ball, crashing into the swarm of robots. The sound of metal twisting and breaking echoed painfully. The glinting alloy claws proved as fragile as paper toys against the memory alloy armor. They were sent flying, crushed, reduced to a heap of sparking scrap beneath the homestead's colossal wheels and chassis. The entire process was brutish, direct, and imbued with a primitive beauty. Just then, a cacophony of inhuman roars erupted from behind a shattered hangar door. A dozen figures stumbled forth from the darkness, mutated soldiers infected by a virus. Their bodies had warped, granting them speed and strength far exceeding that of ordinary zombies, their eyes glimmering with a frenzied hunger for the living. Unfortunately, they had chosen the wrong adversary. Before Su Qing and Chun Mo could respond, several closed-defense machine guns, autonomously controlled by the tactical core, had already locked onto them beneath the armor plates on either side of the homestead. Rat-a-tat-tat. The tongues of flame erupted, enveloping the mutated soldiers in a torrential downpour of bullets. They barely managed to advance 20 meters before being reduced to a grotesque puddle of foul-smelling flesh by the savage metallic storm. Throughout the entire ordeal, Shinemo did not cast a single glance at the battlefield. In less than 5 minutes, the last turret was precisely detonated. The final robot crushed into a disk of metal, and the last mutated soldier reduced to pulp. The deafening alarms and gunfire faded into silence. The helipad once again fell into a profound stillness, littered only with debris and thick black smoke, slowly dissipating in the sea breeze. This so-called landing operation was less a battle and more an efficient, one-sided cleansing. The homestead's exterior bore only a few inconsequential scratches, remaining unscathed. This was the result of a technological disparity, a dimensional strike. All done. Let's wrap it up, Mia whistled. Her tone as carefree as if she had just completed a novice tutorial. One must admit, this affluent battle was indeed exhilarating. The homestead did not linger. It gradually commenced its journey, rolling over the scattered metallic remnants like a sovereign surveying its domain, smoothly heading toward the imposing command center at the helipad's end, radiating an air of authority. Chapter 44, Striking it Rich. The homestead continued its forward momentum without pause, resembling an ancient behemoth patrolling its territory, gliding over the metallic debris and charred remnants of explosions, steadily approaching the command center at the helipad's end, exuding an aura of majesty. The massive alloy door of the command center, crafted from special alloys and half a meter thick, capable of withstanding low-yield tactical weaponry, appeared as fragile as a crisp cracker before the homestead. Shinemo did not even issue a command to crash. He merely guided the homestead forward, allowing its reinforced, menacing ram to gently press against the door. A grating sound of twisted metal pierced the air as the alloy door buckled inward at the point of contact, spiderweb-like cracks rapidly spreading across its surface. The next moment, an explosive boom resounded. The massive door crashed inward with a thunderous roar, shattering into a myriad of metallic fragments. The Ark of Home glided in with an air of tranquility, casting a vast shadow over the command center's desolate and silent hall. I declare, the aesthetics of violence. The eternal deity. Mia whistled over the communication channel, her tone brimming with admiration. They soon discovered their first surprise. A large warehouse on the flank of the command center stood wide open, overflowing with crates of munitions that nearly spilled out into the doorway. As Mia piloted a miniature drone inside, projecting the interior scene onto the main screen, she was left in awe. Rows of assault rifles, crates of high explosive materials, and neatly stacked mountains of various ammunition types filled the space. In one corner, they even spotted several brand-new vehicle-mounted rapid-fire cannons along with an abundance of shells. The gleam of wealth nearly sparkled in Mia's eyes. Boss, have we just cleaned out old Ma's armory? So many treasures. Sister Su Qing will wake up laughing in her sleep. This is a bloodbath profit. A rare smile graced Su Qing's face as well. These conventional weapons were enough to arm their mobile settlement to the teeth, doubling their combat capabilities. However, Chen Mo's expression remained inscrutable. He gazed at the mountain of armaments on the screen, calmly shaking his head. This is just the appetizer. His gaze shifted to Lin Wan. Instantly understanding, She adjusted her glasses and pulled up the three-dimensional layout of the base, her demeanor growing intensely focused. Follow me. The real treasure lies deep within this base. A route leading underground was marked on the Ark's internal map. It began to navigate through the expansive corridors towards the depths of the base. The deeper they descended, the sturdier the surrounding structures became, with the walls bearing the blackened, melted scars of energy weapons, evidence of fierce battles that had transpired here. Eventually, they arrived before an exaggeratedly large lead door. The door was as thick as a city wall, its surface adorned with intricate mechanical locks and hydraulic levers. A vivid red skull and nuclear radiation symbol silently warning all creatures that dared to approach. This is the energy center. Lin Wan's voice trembled, not from fear, but from sheer excitement. Under her remote operation, the Ark extended a mechanical arm, employing a complex decryption program to unlock the lead door. With a resounding rumble that seemed to echo the groans of the earth, the heavy door slowly slid aside. The moment it opened, a pure, cerulean light surged forth like a tidal wave from the crack, bathing the entire corridor in a dreamlike hue. A faint, ozone-like freshness permeated the air. As the door fully opened, everyone beheld the room's contents through the main screen. At the center stood a towering cylindrical apparatus composed of countless precise components and luminous circuits. Operating steadily, its core emitted a soft and stable cerulean glow, akin to the heartbeat of a slumbering deity imbued with boundless power. A military-grade compact cold fusion reactor. Lin Wan stared at the device, utterly entranced, her soul seemingly siphoned away as she murmured, "My heavens, this is a miracle, the god of the Fourth Industrial Revolution." Almost frantically, she rushed to her workstation, her fingers dancing across the keyboard, retrieving data on the device's operations. Energy output is stable. The power exceeds our current energy core by 50 times. No, 100 times. Lin Wan's voice sharpened with excitement, and its energy conversion efficiency approaches 100%. Almost no energy loss or radiation leakage. This is the perfect energy source, an eternal energy source. As she rambled on in a frenzy of scientific enthusiasm, a cold yet celestial system notification resonated explosively in Chun Mo's mind. Advanced energy core detected. Military-grade compact cold fusion reactor. Can be deeply integrated with vehicle energy systems. Post-integration energy cap, 5,000. Energy recovery rate, 1,200. A 5,000% energy cap, 1,002% recovery rate. These two figures struck Chun Mo's heart like powerful hammers. He inhaled deeply, forcing himself to suppress the overwhelming elation within. This meant the Ark would completely bid farewell to energy-saving mode. The electromagnetic cannon could be wielded like a machine gun, and the repulsion hover engine could operate continuously for 24 hours. This mobile fortress would transform into a truly tireless, colossal iron beast. Yet the surprises were not over. "Boss, look next door." Mia's exclamation rang out once more. Adjacent to the reactor room stood another equally vast hangar. As the Ark's searchlight illuminated the interior, everyone held their breath. Within the enormous hangar, 3 towering, 7-meter-tall, dark gray-painted battle mechs stood in a half-crouched posture, quietly stationed on their maintenance platforms. Their design exuded a sense of power and aggression, with sleek armor lines reminiscent of poised leopards, armed with rapid-fire machine guns and high-frequency combat blades, complemented by small flight packs on their backs. Sentinel Series versatile combat mechs. And 3 of them. Unscathed, Lin Wan felt an overwhelming joy wash over her. Chun Mo stood slowly, gazing at the screen displaying the cold, lethal steel creations, his eyes shimmering with unprecedented brilliance. With ease, he spoke softly yet clearly. Reaching every crew member's ears, our combat capability will no longer be confined to the fortress itself. This harvest is of epic proportions. It will elevate the Ark from a formidable land bastion to a strategic platform capable of expeditionary and multidimensional strike capabilities. Chapter 45. Tian Shield Corporation as the Ark of Home, a massive black entity laden with epic spoils capable of altering the wasteland's landscape. Silently glided back to the mobile settlement, the entire camp erupted in fervor. Survivors abandoned their tasks, pouring out from modified buses, temporary tents, and repair stations. Gazing up at the steel deity, as if it had returned from myth, it appeared more complete and silent than before. Yet the invincible aura of power it emanated was more striking than any roar. No one knew what Chun Mo and his team had experienced, yet all understood that their leader had conjured yet another miracle. When the Ark's rear hatch opened, revealing not a weary expedition team but 3 pristine battle mechs exuding an air of cold menace, the crowd erupted into thunderous cheers. "My goodness, those are mechs. Real mechs. Our team has its own mechs now. Zhang Wei, along with his maintenance crew, rushed over in a flurry, their eyes gleaming like wolves mesmerized by a stunning beauty, caressing the cold alloy exterior of the Sentinel mechs, murmuring incoherently. These three iron behemoths galvanized the hearts of the people more than any impassioned speech could. Yet, this was not the end. Under the command of Chen Mo, the heavy crane arm of the homeward ship meticulously hoisted a massive cylindrical device emanating an ethereal blue glow from within the cargo compartment. As this extraordinary apparatus was carefully positioned in a designated clearing at the center of the settlement, all present were captivated by its dreamlike radiance and the precision of its futuristic design, their breaths becoming shallow in awe. "What is this?" someone whispered. No one could provide an answer, yet an instinctive understanding reverberated among the crowd. This object was more precious and significant than the combined might of the three mechs. It was a miracle capable of determining the future of all. "Everyone, secure the area. Engineering team, follow me." A diminutive yet undeniably authoritative voice rang out. Lin Wan, accompanied by her engineering team, surged toward the cold fusion reactor she referred to as the heart of the divine, akin to a congregation of fervent worshippers. She scarcely paused to wipe the dust from her face before diving into the task of connecting various diagnostic equipment. "Commander, the reactor's status is impeccable. The energy core's integrity is at 100%. We can commence energy integration immediately." Lin Wan's voice crackled through the communicator, her excitement akin to that of a soprano delivering a grand aria. "Approved." Chen Mo's voice remained as composed as ever. A monumental undertaking was about to unfold. Lin Wan transformed into a frenzied scientist fueled by enthusiasm, immersing herself in her work with relentless dedication. She, along with all relevant technicians from the settlement, worked in 3 shifts around the clock, transforming the settlement into a vast open-air laboratory. Countless thick cables snaked from the body of the homeward ship, connecting to various ports of the reactor. A complex cooling system was established, producing a deep, resonant hum. Zhang Wei's team was responsible for the physical construction and wiring, while Lin Wan personally crafted the core code for energy matching and system integration. Before her floated dozens of holographic data screens, torrents of data cascading past at a pace so rapid it would leave an ordinary person dizzy. Yet Lin Wan's eyes shone with an almost terrifying brilliance, her fingers a blur upon the virtual keyboard as she muttered urgently, "No, the docking protocol for the main energy channel has conflicts. We must rewrite an adapter module. The switching threshold for the auxiliary energy must be set at 3%. No, 2%. We must ensure a seamless transition. The energy overflow protection mechanism's response time must be elevated to the nanosecond level. If this thing detonates, we will all be reduced to cosmic dust." Mia frequently teased Lin Wan, claiming that she had transcended humanity, becoming a code-obsessed entity enamored with the reactor. However, everyone understood that Lin Wan was engaged in a monumental endeavor worthy of the annals of history. The homeward ship was undergoing its most significant heart transplant. Time passed in a whirlwind of focused activity, stretching into 3 full days. On the evening of the 3rd day, upon the final line of code being entered into the main system and the last energy transmission line successfully connected, Lin Wan exhaled deeply, her body collapsing into the chair, utterly spent. Yet, the spark in her bloodshot eyes glimmered with an unprecedented radiance. "Commander, the first phase of integration is complete." Her voice, hoarse yet brimming with pride, announced. "We can now proceed with the initial energy matching test." The atmosphere of the entire settlement thickened with palpable tension. Standing on the bridge of the homeward ship, Chen Mo gazed at the reactor enveloped in a web of cables below, surrounded by anxious yet expectant technicians, and slowly issued the command. "Begin the test." Received. Lin Wan suddenly seemed revitalized, straightening her posture, inhaling deeply, and solemnly pressing the bright red start button on the control panel. Ignition sequence initiated. Energy output at 1%. Beginning injection. A faint yet primordial hum resonated from the reactor's core, reminiscent of the birth of the universe. The ethereal blue glow intensified exponentially. An observable stream of energy surged along the thickest main cable toward the homeward ship. Inside the vessel, the lights dimmed abruptly, all non-essential systems shutting down instantaneously, entering a low-power standby mode. The next moment, Virum. A sound erupted, a new hum 100 times more powerful than before, resonating with an overwhelming sense of strength from every corner of the homeward ship. All lights blazed back to life, their brightness magnified several-fold. On the main screen, the blue gauge representing the energy limit surged with exaggerated speed. External energy connection successful. System compatibility at 99%. Warning: Energy flow overload. Adaptive matching in progress. Matching complete. Current energy limit increased by 500%. We did it. We succeeded, Mia exclaimed, leaping in exhilaration at the sight of the surging energy bar. However, at the very moment the old and new energy sources completed their integration and the cold fusion reactor was preliminarily activated for the energy matching test, an invisible and unfathomably vast wave of energy radiated from the reactor, expanding outward like a silent shockwave. It was devoid of sound, light, or even the slightest disturbance of dust. It simply swept across the settlement, traversed the ruins, skimmed the parched riverbeds, and traversed the vast wasteland, vanishing toward the world's end at the speed of light. The survivors within the settlement remained entirely oblivious. Shinmo's core team only detected a fleeting, unexplainable anomaly on the homeward ship's sensors, immersed as they were in the euphoric anticipation of boundless energy, unaware that their seemingly innocuous ignition action had ignited a cataclysmic disaster miles away. Hundreds of kilometers distant, within the hollowed interior of a mountain, lay another world. In stark contrast to the desolation and ruin of the wasteland, this place was filled with order, technology, and a chilling metallic essence. The wide corridors were brightly lit and immaculate, bustling with staff clad in various uniforms, their expressions grave. Everywhere, walls bore an aggressive emblem composed of shields and swords. This was the colossal underground base number 3 of the Tian Shield Company, concealed beneath the wasteland. Within the central command hall of the base, the atmosphere was as oppressive as it was efficient. Yet, this tranquility was shattered the next moment by a piercing, shrill alarm that reverberated throughout the entire facility. Beep, beep, beep. Warning, warning. Unknown high-intensity gamma-ray spectrum detected. Energy levels indeterminate. Signal source lock failed. Signal has vanished. Instantly, the command hall descended into chaos. Technicians frantically operated their consoles, attempting to capture the fleeting anomaly. Report. Repeat. The gamma-ray spectrum just now matches the highest secrecy characteristics of the Panga project in our database with a 97% correlation. One technician responsible for energy monitoring stood up, his voice hoarse as he reported to the highest authority in the hall. His declaration momentarily froze the chaos enveloping the entire chamber. Everyone ceased their actions, their gazes filled with a mixture of fear and disbelief, directed towards the independent observation room at the apex of the command hall. Behind a thick layer of one-way bulletproof glass stood a middle-aged man clad in an immaculate white uniform, his expression cold and menacing. He paid no heed to the chaos below, fixating instead on the main screen before him, which displayed a fleeting map indicating the energy source's location alongside a now-vanished, enigmatic energy spectrum curve. His face bore no trace of panic, only a chilling excitement akin to that of a hunter who had just discovered his prey. The spark of Pangu had indeed been ignited in the wasteland. He murmured to himself, a cruel smile gradually forming at the corners of his mouth. With a deliberate motion, he pressed the red communication button within the observation room. A cold, emotionless voice echoed throughout the command hall. Issue an immediate dispatch of the Phantom Squad. The singular objective is to retrieve the spark and its igniter intact. Upon receiving the command, all personnel from the Sky Shield Corporation instinctively straightened their postures and responded in unison. Yes, Supervisor. Chapter 46. They have arrived. The implantation of new hearts had enveloped the entire settlement in an almost fervent optimism. The air was no longer filled solely with the dust and stench of the wasteland. It now carried a faint aroma of machine oil and ozone, reminiscent of the industrial age. Senior Technician Zhang Wei, accompanied by his oil-stained apprentices, busily circled the 3 newly arrived Sentinel mechs as if they were under a spell, their fascination evident as they caressed the cold alloy armor and scrutinized the intricate mechanics of each joint, as though venerating a divine marvel. In the mobile clinic, Dr. Zhou Min could finally operate all the shadowless lights and sterilization equipment without reservation. The ample power supply transformed her operating table into a true arc of life amidst the desolation. At the heart of this transformation was the cold fusion reactor, radiating a ghostly blue light, vigilantly overseen day and night by an engineering team led by Lin Wan. She nearly slept beside the reactor, her bloodshot eyes fixated on every data stream, ready to spring up at the slightest fluctuation. On the bridge of the Ark, Chen Imo silently observed the unfolding events. The settlement was visibly metamorphosing from a temporary survivor camp into a formidable war fortress with substantial industrial potential. This sense of accomplishment in forging a new order stirred his spirit. Yet, he knew better than anyone that the fleeting gamma-ray spectrum from the previous night was akin to a letter sent to hell. A reply would inevitably arrive. At that moment, A commotion arose at the makeshift gate on the settlement's periphery. "Let me in. I must see your leader. It's a matter of life and death." A hoarse, piercing voice belonging to a girl cut through the surrounding noise, strikingly jarring. Chun Mo's brow furrowed slightly as he switched the drone's high-definition camera to capture the scene. In the footage, a gaunt, ragged girl was being firmly restrained by two members of the settlement's guard. She appeared to be no older than 20, as slender as a reed, seemingly ready to topple over at the slightest gust of wind. Her waxen face bore eyes ablaze with urgency and despair, fixated on the direction of the arc at the settlement's center. "Who is she? Another beggar?" remarked a nearby survivor, noting her attire, which, unlike that of the typical drifters, suggested a different origin. The surrounding survivors pointed at her, their apathy evident in a world rife with such supplicants. Eventually, the commotion caught the attention of Su Qing, who was patrolling the area. By the time she arrived, the girl was on the verge of being shoved to the ground by the guards. "Let her through," Su Qing's cold voice commanded. The guards, relieved, immediately released their grip. As the girl was escorted to the front of the ark, she looked up to see a tall man descending the slope. She recognized him as the master of this place, the new god amidst the ruins. The girl could no longer bear the weight of her distress, her legs buckling as she nearly fell to the ground. She lifted her head, summoning all her strength to utter a blood-curdling plea. "Leader Chen Mo, I beg you, save my family." Chen Mo halted, gazing down at her with the calmness of a still pond, devoid of any ripples of emotion. He had witnessed countless such pleas, numbness and despair etched into their faces. He was no savior and would not make promises lightly. "Give me a reason I must save them." The girl froze, taken aback by the directness of his inquiry. However, seizing what she perceived as her last hope, she scrambled to her feet and spoke rapidly. "I am Chinya. My family specializes in mecha. Not the makeshift contraptions cobbled together from scrap metal, but true mechs that possess life and soul." "Specializing in mecha?" At her words, a flicker of interest crossed Chen Mo's countenance. Lin Wan's voice immediately resonated through the internal communicator, brimming with barely contained excitement. "Commander, mecha, let her continue. Ask her if she knows about neural synchronization." Chun Mo paid no mind to Lin Wan, his attention fixed on Chinya, awaiting her next words. Unaware of Lin Wan's interjection, Chinya believed she had swayed him, desperately revealing her trump card as tears mingled with the dust on her face, creating clear trails of mud. "The Sky Shield Corporation wants our neural synchronization technology. It is the culmination of my grandfather's life work. The key to merging the pilot's consciousness with the mecha. They have taken my parents to force my grandfather to surrender the final core code." "Then why are you here?" Su Qing interjected coldly. "The Sky Shield Corporation has captured your family. You should seek them out, not come to us." A twisted expression, rife with profound indignation and seething hatred, suddenly flared on Chinya's face. Gritting her teeth, each word emerged as if forced through clenched jaws. "Because of my brother. That bastard, Qin Feng. He sacrificed our family to climb the ranks within the Sky Shield Corporation, using us as his stepping stone. It was he who led them to our hideout. He personally handed over my parents. Now, they are undoubtedly torturing my grandfather. He is too old to withstand it." As she neared the end of her desperate tale, Chinya's composure crumbled entirely, collapsing to the ground in muffled, agonized sobs. Inside the vehicle, Mia rolled her eyes, muttering under her breath, "Good grief, this script is the year's most melodramatic tragedy. To ascend, he betrays his family. This guy is a real wolf." Chen Mo's face remained impassive. A descendant of a top-tier mecha repair family, a core technology named neural synchronization, and an internal traitor connected to the Sky Shield Corporation. These three pieces of information intertwined to form a compelling reason for him to intervene. The three newly acquired Sentinel mechs required the utmost expertise in maintenance and upgrades. The neural synchronization technology promises to elevate the combat prowess of prodigies like Mia to an unprecedented level. This transaction is indeed worthwhile. Just as Chun Mo was about to inquire about Chinya's family's specific location, an unforeseen calamity struck. A thunderous explosion, powerful enough to shake the very ground, erupted from the outer defenses of the settlement. A colossal orange fireball ascended into the sky, casting a foreboding red hue across half the heavens. It was a wooden watchtower, hastily erected, that was obliterated in an instant. The shrill sound of alarms reverberated throughout the settlement, sending all survivors into a state of panic as they gazed towards the source of the explosion. Through Su Qing's tactical communicator, the frantic shouts of a sentinel echoed, "Enemy attack! Enemy attack! The outer defenses have been breached. 3 black armored vehicles. Their firepower is overwhelming." Upon hearing the term armored vehicles, Chinya, who had been sobbing in anguish, suddenly stiffened. It was as if the most dreadful realization had dawned upon her. Slowly, she lifted her head, her pallid face devoid of color, leaving only a profound, bone-deep fear. She looked at Chunemo, her lips trembling, as she uttered a barely audible, dreamlike whisper, "They have come." Chapter 47. Apologies, you have provoked the wrong person. Kneeling on the ground, Chinya trembled uncontrollably. She understood better than anyone the implications of that explosion. It was not a warning, but a proclamation. Her brother, accompanied by the hounds of hell, had arrived to collect the last of the stakes. In the next moment, her fear materialized into reality. With a cacophony of grinding metal and the furious roar of engines, 3 pitch-black armored vehicles charged like rampaging steel rhinos, violently crashing through the already distorted gates of the settlement, trampling over makeshift barriers, and invading the terrified sight of the survivors. These were not the grotesque contraptions commonly found in the wasteland, cobbled together from scrap metal. These armored vehicles were sleek and aggressive, their matte black finish absorbing all surrounding light, adorned with a sinister emblem of a shield and a sword that glimmered coldly in the firelight. It was the Tian Shield Company. As the doors swung open, a contingent of soldiers clad in black exoskeleton armor emerged, resembling demons risen from the depths of hell, brandishing standard-issue assault rifles and disembarking in perfect unison. They paid no heed to the fleeing survivors, their icy gazes quickly locking onto the center of the area, where a massive black fortress stood, along with a few individuals before it. Finally, a man descended from the lead armored vehicle, walking leisurely, dressed in a fitted black combat uniform that seemed out of place in the wasteland. His meticulously styled hair and the condescending arrogance on his face radiated a sense of superiority. He was Qin Feng, Qinya's elder brother. His gaze swept over the crowd, landing squarely on his trembling sister, kneeling on the ground. There was no hint of familial affection in his eyes, only the coldness of a predator observing its prey. "Qinya, cease your futile resistance." His voice, though not loud, resonated clearly amidst the chaos. "Hand over what grandfather left behind, and then, come with us. For the sake of our blood ties, I shall speak a few kind words on your behalf to the superior, ensuring you a more comfortable life henceforth." His tone was akin to that of one offering a scrap of pity to a stray dog. Qinya raised her head, her face streaked with tears and dust, contorting into a grotesque mask of profound rage and deep-seated hatred. She bit down on her lip so fiercely that it felt as though she might shatter it. Yet no words would escape her lips. At that moment, a colossal shadow silently enveloped them. The Ark of Home had stirred. It emitted no roar of engines, but glided forward silently, propelled by an anti-gravity engine, advancing several dozen meters, its immense form standing like an insurmountable black mountain, firmly blocking Qin Feng and his fully armed soldiers. The overwhelming, silent pressure was enough to make even the seasoned Tian Shield soldiers instinctively take a step back, gripping their weapons tighter. Oh, the main event has arrived. Inside the Ark of Home, Mia reclined with her legs crossed, observing the theatrics of the pretentious Qin Feng on the screen, unable to suppress a whistle. Does this brother think that as long as he dresses well enough, the villain aura won't catch up with him? A cold, emotionless voice interrupted Mia's jest. It resonated through the external speakers of the Ark of Home, like a chilling thunderclap, echoing in everyone's ears. "My territory, who gave you the audacity to wreak havoc?" Qin Feng's arrogance froze for an instant at this unexpected challenge. He squinted, scrutinizing the peculiar, colossal construct before him, his disdain growing more pronounced. To him, it was merely a haphazard assembly of scrap metal. "Huh," he scoffed, as if he had heard the most absurd joke. "Just a pile of scrap metal. How dare it pretend to be formidable in my presence?" He abruptly raised his hand, pointing at the Ark of Home. "Blast it open." Inside the vehicle, Mia nearly dropped her lollipop, incredulity washing over her. Did I hear correctly? He wants us to blast it open? Such a considerate service request. I've never encountered anything like this in my years of delivery. We must comply, 5-star review guaranteed. With the command given, the remote-controlled cannons mounted on the 3 armored vehicles roared to life. Scorching tongues of flame belched forth, and a barrage of bullets formed chains of death, tracing blinding arcs through the dim twilight as they rained down upon the formidable front armor of the Ark of Home. Yet, contrary to expectations, the anticipated cacophony of metal clashing and sparks flying failed to materialize. As the bullets struck the luminous blue alloy armor, the sound produced was not the sharp clang of impact, but a series of muted thuds, akin to striking thick rubber. Each bullet that hit the surface caused ripples of shimmering blue light, as the kinetic energy was instantaneously absorbed and neutralized, falling to the ground like red-hot iron beads. Clattering softly, there were no penetrating shots, not even a single discernible scratch left behind. This astonishing scene, defying all laws of physics, left the Tian shield soldiers who had pulled the triggers in a state of dumbfounded disbelief. What is happening? Where are our armor-piercing rounds? What in the world is this armor? An energy shield? Boss, it's useless. This thing doesn't reflect, but it's slippery. The bullets are curving off. One soldier exclaimed through the communicator, his confusion and terror palpable. The madness and arrogance on Qin Feng's face instantly froze, replaced by a profound shock and disbelief. The armed force he had prided himself on had become a complete farce in the face of their adversary. Inside the Ark of Home, Chun Mo observed the futile barrage of cannon fire in Qin Feng's face, which had turned from blue to white, a cold smirk curling at the corners of his mouth. He slowly picked up the internal communicator and uttered 2 words, Su Qing. Received. Su Qing's response was as calm as ever. On the roof of the homestead, a hefty armored plate quietly slid open to the sides. A brand new cannon, exuding a futuristic technological aura, slowly rose. Unlike traditional artillery, its barrel was encircled by spirals of energy coils radiating a ghostly blue arc, and at the muzzle, high-energy particles converged, causing the surrounding air to warp slightly. The electromagnetic railgun, when this weapon, embodying absolute destructive power, made its appearance on the battlefield, an overwhelming sense of dread, akin to that emanating from the apex of the food chain, enveloped all the soldiers of the Sky Shield Corporation. What is that thing? Qin Feng's voice trembled for the first time. No one answered him. The response came in the form of the ultimate judgment from the Grim Reaper. Boom. It was not the roar of gunpowder exploding, but rather the sharp crack of air being torn apart in an instant. A beam of blue light, refined to perfection as if emerging from the depths of the stars, flashed from the cannon like the first light of creation. Time seemed to slow down at that moment. Everyone could clearly see that blue death ray traverse hundreds of meters in silence, striking precisely the leading black armored vehicle. There was no earth-shattering explosion. The beam effortlessly melted a fist-sized, impeccably smooth circular hole in the thick frontal armor of the armored vehicle. It then pierced through the engine, through the cockpit, emerging from the other side of the vehicle, eventually vanishing into the distant horizon. The entire process was eerily quiet. The armored vehicle remained still. Even the machine gun's fire did not cease, as if nothing had occurred. The Sky Shield soldiers inside the vehicle were momentarily stunned. Then, the driver seemed to sense something amiss. He glanced down at the smoldering hole in his chest, then at the dashboard, where all readings had abruptly dropped to 0. He opened his mouth, seemingly wanting to speak, but he had no further opportunities. After a second of dead silence, the metal, instantly vaporized by the ultra-high heat of the electromagnetic projectile and the ammunition inside, detonated with a vengeance. Boom! A terrifying explosion, 10 times more violent than the previous high-explosive shell, erupted violently from within the armored vehicle. The steel construct, forged from special alloys, shattered like a balloon bursting from within. Countless burning parts and twisted metal fragments, intermingled with orange fireballs, were propelled nearly 100 meters into the sky, resembling a grand, death-laden metal firework display. The horrific shockwave surged outward like an invisible tsunami. The 2 nearest armored vehicles were flipped onto their sides, rolling several meters away. The exoskeleton soldiers were swept up like leaves in a tempest, screaming as they were blown away. The explosive shockwave threw Qin Feng into disarray. In the wake of that single shot, the entire battlefield fell eerily silent. The flames of the explosion illuminated Qin Feng's face, distorted with sheer terror. As he stared blankly at the heap of burning scrap metal that had once been a vehicle, and at the still silent black fortress, from which wisps of smoke continued to rise from the cannon's muzzle. His mind was a blank slate. Chapter 48, Mech Duel. Just one shot. Merely one shot. His pride. The standard armored vehicle produced by the Sky Shield Corporation, along with his most elite subordinates, had been obliterated from the physical realm. This was no longer a matter of technological disparity. This was a dimensional strike. No, it's impossible. Qin Feng's lips quivered, his facial muscles contorting in abject fear. What kind of monster is this? Behind him, the Sky Shield soldiers were thrown into chaos, gazing at the burning wreckage, then at their assault rifles, which now seemed like mere sticks. Their morale was crushed in an instant. Activate the Punisher. Quickly, activate the Punisher for me. In the face of despair, a final madness ignited in Qin Feng's eyes. He leapt from the ground like a wounded beast, hysterically roaring into the communicator. The Punisher was his trump card for this operation, a military-grade weapon supplied by the Sky Shield Corporation, capable of suppressing an entire area. He had initially intended to use it as a deterrent. Now, it had become his sole lifeline. Upon issuing the command, The rear hatch of one of the remaining two armored vehicles creaked open with the sound of hydraulic struts. A massive, imposing black silhouette emerged from the shadows behind the hatch. Then, a heavily armored metallic foot stomped down onto the ground with a resounding thud, causing the earth to tremble slightly. A 5-meter-tall military mech stepped out from the armored vehicle. Its design was rugged and brutal, coated in a muted military green, with thick hydraulic lines and cables exposed at the joints. Its right arm housed a large-caliber rapid-fire cannon, while its left bore a heavy alloy shield, with two small missile launchers perched on its shoulder. This mech, known as the Punisher, resembled a primordial beast emerging from a steel jungle, its presence replacing the recently quelled chaos on the battlefield with an even heavier, suffocating pressure. Inside the homestead, Mia watched the colossal figure on the main screen, licking her lips, her charming face betraying no hint of anxiety. Instead, it radiated excitement. Finally, a worthy toy has arrived. She cracked her neck with a series of pops, her fingers lightly tapping on her spherical controller, as if warming up for a long-awaited game. "Boss, don't hold me back. This one's mine. I'm going to send him off personally." Chun Imo said nothing, merely granting her an approving glance. "All right." A spark of excitement flickered in Mia's eyes as she pressed several red buttons on her control panel. The hunt begins, accompanied by her playful declaration. A massive 10-meter-wide hatch on the side of the homestead slid open with a series of precise mechanical whirs, in stark contrast to the Punisher's brutish entry. Another equally tall figure emerged from the darkness behind the hatch with an almost graceful stride. It was a combat mech, standing 7 meters tall, with a sleek dark gray finish and lines that resembled a poised cheetah ready to pounce. Its arms bore no exaggerated artillery. Instead, they wielded two high-frequency combat blades, shimmering with metallic brilliance, while a small flight pack on its back emitted a ghostly blue flame, rendering it swift and agile in motion. The Sentinel mech. Under Mia's remote control, the Sentinel strode forth, facing off against the military green Punisher amidst the astonished gazes of countless survivors and Sky Shield soldiers. These two steel titans, embodiments of human industrial achievement, stood in opposition on the cleared ground of the settlement, where explosions had recently raged. The air seemed to freeze in that moment. The next second, battle erupted with a resounding roar. The Punisher initiated the assault, its missile launchers igniting with a flash as two small missiles streaked toward the Sentinel, trailing flames. As it advanced with heavy strides, akin to a speeding heavy-duty truck, it launched a ferocious charge. "Is that all? Resorting to missiles? Iron simpleton," Mia scoffed disdainfully. Under her deft control, the power of the jetpack behind the Sentinel surged to full throttle, allowing the entire machine to swiftly glide several meters to the side, deftly evading two incoming missiles. Boom, boom. The missiles detonated where the Sentinel had previously stood, sending up massive clouds of smoke. Seizing this opportunity, the Sentinel lunged forward, meeting the oncoming Punisher head-on. A thunderous metallic clash reverberated through the air as the Punisher's alloy shield collided violently with the Sentinel's high-frequency blade. Visible shockwaves radiated outward, scattering countless sparks like fireworks. The two steel titans engaged in the most primal and brutal hand-to-hand combat on the open ground. The clang of metal, the roar of artillery, and the hissing of hydraulic rods filled the air, composing a symphony of steel in this apocalyptic setting. In that moment, Mia's operational prowess was on full display. The Punisher's attacks were brutish and aggressive, reminiscent of military-grade ferocity. Its right arm's cannon unleashed a frenzied barrage, attempting to suppress the Sentinel with a hail of bullets. However, in Mia's hands, the Sentinel's mech moved with the grace of an elite martial artist. "You think you can suppress me with firepower? Let me show you a close-quarter technique." Mia shouted excitedly, her hands a blur on the controller. The Sentinel executed a series of astonishing maneuvers. It suddenly squatted low, gliding close to the ground to evade the Punisher's fire. Then, in a split second, pushed off against the Punisher's leg, propelling itself high into the air. In mid-flight, the Sentinel performed a graceful somersault, akin to a hawk swooping down on its prey, bringing the high-frequency blade down forcefully upon the Punisher's shoulder joint. The chilling sound of metal slicing through echoed as a deep wound was carved into the Punisher's shoulder armor, revealing bone and sparking a cascade of electrical sparks. Amidst this chaotic battlefield, Chun Imo had already set his silent plan into motion. Rather than focusing on the heart-stopping mech duel, he piloted the massive homestead, like a silent specter, circumventing the battlefield to head directly towards the temporary location where Chinya had indicated her family was being held. There, several shield soldiers were attempting to forcibly take away a middle-aged couple and an elderly man with white hair. Before they could act, a colossal black shadow loomed over them. The homestead, immense as a mountain, came to a halt before them. The cold barrels of the close-range machine guns slid out from beneath the armor plates, silently aiming at the soldiers. The color drained from the faces of the shield soldiers, their weapons clattering to the ground as they raised their hands in surrender. The pneumatic doors opened, and amidst Qin Ya's tears of joy, her family was safely ushered aboard. On the other side of the battlefield, the mech duel escalated to a fever pitch. The Punisher, enraged by its shoulder wound, abandoned long-range attacks and charged at the Sentinel like a mad bull. "You dare offer your head? Is your skull that thick?" Mia sneered, advancing rather than retreating. The Sentinel crossed its combat blades to withstand the Punisher's onslaught. The ground beneath them cracked under the immense force as the two mechs grappled, their metallic frames groaning under the strain. "Now's the moment." A glint of determination flashed in Mia's eyes as she seized the opportunity of the Punisher's exhaustion. The Sentinel's engine roared to life, executing a clever disengagement maneuver that redirected the Punisher's momentum to the side, then swiftly spun around to position itself behind the Punisher. Chapter 49. New warehouse unlocked in the blink of an eye. The tide of battle had turned. Thinking of escape? Too late. Inside the homestead, a predatory glint shone in Mia's eyes. She beheld the Punisher, now rigid and exposed from behind, her lips curling into a cruel smile as she envisioned the terror-stricken face of its pilot. "Let me show you my newly learned jujitsu technique." This move is called the Earth Throw. Accompanied by her excited growl, the Sentinel's engine surged to its utmost capacity. Its metallic form, composed of countless intricate components, unleashed a terrifying power and agility that belied its size. The Sentinel's mechanical arm clamped down on the Punisher's cumbersome body, which hadn't even had time to turn around. Then, the core engine in its waist erupted with force, executing a flawless over-the-shoulder throw, performed by this 7-meter-tall steel construct in a display of violent beauty. Boom! A deafening crash resonated, enough to make the earth mourn. The Punisher's several-ton steel body slammed into the hardened concrete floor. The tremendous impact caused its heavy armor to crumple and crack, with numerous parts and cables bursting forth from the fissures, emitting a shower of electrical sparks. The ground, centered around the Punisher, was transformed into a vast, spiderweb-like crater. However, this was merely the beginning of Mia's performance. "Not finished yet, darling." Mia licked her lips and decisively pressed the attack command. The dazed Punisher, still reeling from the violent impact, found a massive black shadow enveloping its cockpit. It was the Sentinel, with one foot planted firmly on the immobile Punisher's chest, towering above. The rapid-fire cannon of its right arm was aimed directly at the Punisher's vulnerable cockpit. Boom! Without a moment's hesitation, Mia fired. The large-caliber armor-piercing round, infused with the energy to obliterate, pierced through the thin armor of the Punisher's cockpit in an instant. No screams, no last words. A burst of blood mist and flames erupted from within the cockpit, and then the entire mech's energy core detonated, triggering a more violent chain reaction. Boom! The Punisher, a military killing machine that the Shield Company had prided itself on, was reduced to a heap of burning, twisted scrap metal before the eyes of all. The battle was over. With the Punisher's destruction, an eerie silence fell over the battlefield. The fortunate Shield soldiers who had survived stared blankly at the pile of scrap, then glanced at the unscathed Sentinel, which appeared godlike in the glow of the flames, and finally, their gazes settled on the massive, silent black fortress. Fear washed over them like frigid seawater, drowning their last vestiges of will. Clatter. It was uncertain who was the first to drop their weapon, but this action seemed contagious. All the remaining Shield soldiers followed suit, discarding their arms and raising their hands high. The world fell silent. The doors of the homestead emitted a soft hiss as they slowly opened once more. Chun Mo descended from the ramp. He did not glance at the surrendering soldiers nor the victorious Sentinel. His steps were steady, his aim clear, as he moved resolutely toward Qin Feng, who was struggling to rise from the ground, his face a portrait of horror and disbelief. Every step he took felt as though he were treading upon the very heart of Qin Feng, rendering the latter's visage increasingly ashen. The survivors of the settlement cautiously peered from their hiding places, gazing in awe at this man, who exuded an air of both divinity and malevolence. While observing the fallen foes that lay beneath his feet, "Don't come any closer." Qin Feng retreated 2 steps, his voice a hollow echo of bravado as he suppressed the terror welling within. "I warn you, I am an employee of the Tiandun Corporation. Should you dare to lay a finger upon me, the corporation will not let you escape unscathed. There will be no refuge for you, neither in heaven nor on earth." Chen Mo's advance finally halted. He did not even cast a glance at Qin Feng. Instead, his gaze transcended the man, settling upon Qinya, who was being supported by Su Qing, her tear-streaked face a portrait of despair. What shall be done with your brother and those who seek to capture your family? Chun Mo's voice, though soft, resonated clearly in the ears of all present, bestowing upon the greatest victim the power to decide. Qin Feng was momentarily taken aback. He had not anticipated such a question. His eyes flickered towards his sister, a glimmer of hope sparking within. Blood is thicker than water, he wagered. Surely she would not dare act against him. Qinya lifted her head, her gaze meeting that of Qin Feng's in a suspended moment. In his eyes, she perceived a blend of desperation and menace, recalling the cold detachment with which he had once forced their parents and grandfather into the abyss. Gradually, her expression shifted from sorrow and agony to a profound, chilling silence that echoed the depths of her heart's demise. There is no greater sorrow than a heart that has ceased to feel, she murmured softly, her words piercing through the last shreds of Qin Feng's illusions. They all deserve to die. Chun Mo nodded in acknowledgement. He uttered not another word, and with a swift motion, a sleek, sci-fi-inspired black handgun materialized in his hand. Qin Feng's pupils dilated in horror. He yearned for mercy, for escape, yet Chun Mo's actions were swifter than his thoughts. Bang, bang, bang. The sharp crack of gunfire reverberated through the desolate settlement, a jarring sound in the stillness. A blood hole appeared in the center of Qin Feng's forehead, his expression forever frozen in that moment of terror and disbelief as his body toppled backward. Simultaneously, the recently surrendered Tiandun soldiers collapsed, each marked by a precise bullet hole in their brows. As silence reclaimed the world, Chun Mo holstered his pistol and turned to face the trembling girl before him, nearly collapsing from the weight of her vengeance fulfilled. Your family is safe now. What do you intend to do next? Despondent, Qinya gazed at the man who had avenged her family, her eyes fixed on the steel fortress that had provided sanctuary. She realized that her fate was now inexorably intertwined with this place. Drawing a deep breath, she wiped her tears and spoke with newfound resolve. I wish to remain and serve you. As her words fell, a long-forgotten system notification chimed in Chun Mo's mind. Ding. Advanced Compatibility Pilot Qin Ye has boarded. Compatibility, 92. Specialization, Mechanical Mecha Engineering. With Qin Ye's formal induction, another tantalizing notification followed. Core crew member detected. Conditions met to unlock exclusive functional compartment. Exclusive functional compartment. Large mecha maintenance warehouse has been unlocked. Adaptive installation in progress. A low, precise mechanical hum filled the interior of the homeward, as the vast chamber, once home to the Sentinel mechs, underwent a transformation. Countless mechanical arms emerged from the walls and ceiling, automated maintenance platforms rising. Intricate pipelines and data interfaces spreading like vines. A brand new, industrially aesthetic and futuristic space quietly took shape within the homeward. Installation complete. The Sentinel mechs are now capable of deep maintenance, repairs, and modular modifications. Chun Mo observed as the Sentinel mech, enveloped by numerous mechanical arms, entered the new warehouse for post-battle inspection, a satisfied smile finally gracing his lips. Chapter 50. Phantom Hunter Tiandun Corporation's Underground Base Number 3. Warning. Collective life signals of the Phantom Squad have vanished. The data link to the Punisher mech has been severed, deemed destroyed. Final data, upload analysis warning. Detection of super-spec electromagnetic weapon response. Cold, unyielding data, signifying death and defeat, struck like a heavy hammer upon the hearts of everyone in the command hall. Instantly, the room fell into a hushed silence, soon shattered by stifled gasps and chaos. The entire Phantom Squad has perished? How is that possible? Though Qin Feng was inept, those members were elite. The Punisher has also been destroyed? What could have done such a thing? Bring up the final battle footage. Technicians frantically operated their consoles, quickly projecting a blurred, shaky image captured in the final moments before the Punisher's destruction onto the central screen. Despite the distortion, everyone could clearly see an elegant, dark gray mech they had never encountered before, executing a brutal shoulder throw that sent the cumbersome Punisher crashing to the ground. Before the Punisher's pilot could react, the mech unhesitatingly fired, obliterating the cockpit. The entire sequence was swift and decisive, exuding an overwhelming sense of power. If the emergence of this mysterious mech was already shocking, the subsequent footage relayed from an armored vehicle of the colossal Black Fortress plunged the command hall into a paralyzing dread. In the footage, the massive Black Fortress stood undamaged against the concentrated fire from 3 armored vehicles. Its shimmering blue memory alloy armor absorbed all kinetic energy from the bullets, as if mocking their impotence. Then, the menacing electromagnetic railgun atop the vehicle fired. A flash of blue light flickered momentarily. An armored vehicle, along with all its occupants, was instantaneously vaporized, erupting in a grand display of metallic fireworks. A dimensional strike. This was the only term that resonated in the minds of all Tiandun elites present. In the independent observation room above the command hall, the atmosphere starkly contrasted with the chaos below. A middle-aged man, clad in an immaculate white uniform and possessing a piercing gaze, quietly observed the massacre on the main screen. He exhibited neither anger nor shock. Instead, his pallid face, long deprived of sunlight, bore an unusual expression of fascination akin to that of a child discovering a new toy. Interesting, he murmured to himself, a cold smile beginning to curl at his lips. Disregarding the tumult below, he extended a finger and gently tapped the control screen before him, magnifying the moment of the railgun's discharge, slowing it down and freezing it. As he gazed at the exquisitely concentrated blue beam and the armored vehicle that disintegrated upon impact, his intrigue deepened. The ability to miniaturize an electromagnetic cannon to such an extent, coupled with the incorporation of memory alloys, suggests that we have previously underestimated the survivors in this wasteland. Or perhaps, we have underestimated the one who ignited the spark of Pangu. Rising to his feet, he approached the one-way glass, gazing down at his subordinates, who were scurrying about like ants in a frying pan. He pressed the red communication button in the observation room, and a cold, emotionless voice poured forth, dousing everyone in a frigid cascade of silence, instantly quieting the entire command hall. A bunch of worthless fools. These simple 3 words bore an immense weight, compelling everyone to instinctively lower their heads, unable to meet his gaze. Qin Feng's mission had failed, the Phantom Squad was annihilated, and the Punisher mech was destroyed. He spoke in a flat, matter-of-fact tone, stating that this indicated a severe miscalculation in our threat assessment of the target. The target's vehicle possessed defensive technologies and offensive capabilities beyond our current comprehension. Its pilot exhibited combat prowess far surpassing that of our elite soldiers. His gaze fixated on the image of the fortress, resembling a black mountain, displayed on the screen. Henceforth, the target's codename would be changed from Spark to Fortress. The threat level was elevated to the highest classification, Divine Catastrophe. Divine Catastrophe, the mere mention of this codename, which existed only in the most classified documents of the Heavenly Shield, rendered the faces of all present pale with dread. It signified that the threat level of the target was on par with an unpredictable and insurmountable calamity brought down by the divine. At that moment, from the shadows of the observation room, a fiery red figure emerged slowly. It was a woman with an extraordinarily alluring physique, clad in a tight-fitting red pilot suit that accentuated her perfect curves. Her long, similarly fiery hair cascaded over her shoulders like a burning flame. A lazy yet proud smile graced her face, her eyes brimming with a thirst for battle and absolute confidence. Her presence shattered the cold atmosphere of the observation room like a surge of molten lava. "Supervisor, it appears you are facing a minor inconvenience." Her voice was laced with playful teasing, yet it bore a magnetic allure. The man in white, referred to as the supervisor, did not turn around. He merely stated, "Not an inconvenience, but prey. A sufficiently intriguing prey." He turned to face the woman known as the strongest spear of the Heavenly Shield Corporation. "Dragon Lady, has your red dragon not exercised its limbs in quite some time?" The woman, dubbed Dragon Lady, extended her tongue to lick her crimson lips, her eyes igniting with a terrifying gleam. "Indeed, Supervisor. We, along with it, can hardly contain our eagerness." The supervisor nodded in satisfaction. "Go forth. This time, I authorize you to deploy the entire Phantom Hunter squad. Bring back that fortress and everything living within it, intact." With the command issued, deep within the base, dozens of elite mechs, more streamlined and lethal than the Punisher, began to awaken from slumber, their cold electronic eyes flickering to life. At the center of the base's warehouse, a mech, entirely crimson and shaped like a demonic entity from hell, slowly rose from the maintenance platform. It was Dragon Lady's personal vehicle, the true ace of the Heavenly Shield Corporation, the Red Dragon. The most elite and formidable unit, led by Dragon Lady. The Phantom Hunter Mech Squad, set forth into action. Chapter 51. Quantum Beacon within the Homeward. The elation of victory had yet to subside, yet a new, more intense atmosphere began to brew. Qinya's family had been safely settled in the living quarters, while Dr. Zhou Min conducted comprehensive health checks and psychological counseling for them. As for Qinya, she was akin to a mouse that had plunged into a grain bin, entirely immersed in the recently unlocked large mech maintenance bay. She obsessively stroked the cold alloy armor of the Sentinel mech, her eyes shimmering with fervor as she muttered a series of technical terms that Shin Mo could not comprehend. Reverse engineering the remnants of the Heavenly Shield's Punisher may allow us to graft their guidance shield technology onto the Sentinel. No, The energy interface protocol is incompatible, unless we can rewrite an underlying fire control system. Observing this girl transform from a mere victim into a technological aficionado in an instant, Chun Mo realized he had truly stumbled upon a treasure. He refrained from interrupting Qinya, instead returning to the bridge. Su Qing was inventorying the seized weapons and ammunition, while Mia operated the drones, overseeing the surrendered Heavenly Shield soldiers as they cleaned the battlefield and transported supplies. Everything was progressing towards a brighter future. However, this hard-won tranquility was abruptly shattered by an ear-piercing alarm that resonated throughout the entire homeward. Warning! Warning! Multiple high-energy reactions detected approaching at high speed. Identification code: Heavenly Shield's Elite Forces. Su Qing's voice echoed in the bridge, now tinged with undeniable gravity. Almost simultaneously with the alarm, Chun Mo's instinctive and decisive command was issued. Yao Guang, space jump. Immediately, without hesitation or debate, fleeing was the only option in the face of such a formidable threat. Received. Just as Yao Guang, who had regained some color from the stability of life, turned pale once more, she dashed into her dedicated cockpit, pressing her hands firmly onto the two floating silver spheres. Massive energy surged forth. The vast form of the homeward began to twist violently, as though a stone had been cast into a still pond. The world outside was stretched into a chaotic tapestry of colors. In the next moment, with a violent shudder as the metal structure strained against the burden, the homeward was forcefully expelled from an unseen dimension, crashing heavily amidst a dense forest, snapping countless thick trees in its wake. Jump completed. Coordinates: northeast, 50 kilometers away. Safe. Mia exhaled deeply, plopping down onto her egg chair, wiping the cold sweat from her forehead. That scared me to death. We almost got trapped in the spring. Yao Guang, well done. You deserve 32 thumbs up. Yao Guang's complexion remained pale, but upon seeing the unfamiliar forest outside, she felt a slight sense of relief. 50 kilometers should be sufficient to shake off any pursuers. Yet, this fleeting sense of relief lasted less than 10 minutes. Warning! High-energy reactions detected again, right above us. Su Qing's voice now bore a note of incredulity and shock. Everyone instinctively looked up towards the porthole. There, in the overcast sky, 3 fiery points resembling meteors plummeted from the clouds at astonishing speed, precisely targeting their location. Boom, boom, boom. 3 resounding crashes echoed almost simultaneously. 3 battle mechs, far more streamlined and lethal than the Punisher, landed in a perfect equilateral triangle around the homeward, completely sealing off all avenues of retreat. Their paint was uniform, a spectral shade of deep black, and the lines of their bodies exuded an aggressive allure. The hydraulic lines at their joints flickered with ominous energy. In their grasp were not projectiles spewing forth, but beam rifles, coalescing with destructive energy. The cold, electronic eyes, akin to a hunter locking onto its prey, fixated intently on the colossal homeward. A suffocating sense of despair enveloped the entire bridge in an instant. How could they possibly be catching up to us? Yao Guang gazed at the 3 mechs, resembling harbingers of doom, her complexion drained of color, her voice quivering with fear. 50 kilometers. How could they achieve this? Her abilities, her greatest reliance, seemed like a mere jest in the presence of these 3 machines. Inside the bridge, silence fell like a heavy shroud. Mia's once playful visage was now stripped of mirth, and Su Qing gripped the weapon control panel with white knuckles, while even Chun Mo's brow was tightly furrowed. At that moment, a voice, raspy yet unervingly calm, emerged through the internal communication channel from the direction of the hangar. It was the quantum entanglement beacon. It was Qinya. Her voice invigorated everyone. What is it? Chun Mo inquired immediately. On the other end of the communicator, the sound of Qinya's rapid keystrokes accompanied her coherent explanation. This is one of Tian Shield Corporation's top-secret tracking technologies, which I had only seen theoretically in my grandfather's manuscripts. It utilizes the principle of non-locality derived from quantum entanglement. In simpler terms, they possess a specialized device capable of attaching a quantum beacon to the edge of the rift in space at the very moment we execute a spatial leap. Qinya's voice paused, as if she were organizing her words for the benefit of her less academically inclined audience. This beacon itself does not emit any signals, but it will form a quantum entanglement with another beacon at Tian Shield's headquarters. Regardless of how far we jump, the rift we tear in space will leave behind a unique, indelible particle scar in the macrocosm, impervious to conventional means of erasure. The pursuers from Tian Shield track us by following these particle scars to ascertain our general direction and distance after the leap. Although they cannot achieve precise localization, they can narrow the search area down to a minuscule region. They are like sharks drawn by the scent of blood, and with each leap we take, we bleed further into the sea. Chinya's explanation doused the last flicker of hope within everyone like a bucket of ice water. Mia's complexion darkened as she muttered, "What the hell? Is this some sort of mystical nonsense? It's as if we've been fitted with an unremovable tracker." Her crude analogy, though lacking in elegance, was strikingly apparent. In other words, Suqing's voice was dry. "We can't escape, can we?" Chapter 52. The Might of the Crimson Dragon. Despair from the skies, a stifling silence engulfed the bridge. The three spectral black mechs stood silently amidst the trees, their cold electronic eyes locked onto them, like executioners awaiting the order to deliver death. Run? Where to run? Each leap felt like igniting a new torch in the night, only serving to guide the hunters more swiftly to their prey. Mia, whose face was usually adorned with a sardonic smile, now appeared ashen. She watched the three mechs, their forms embodying lethal beauty, oblivious to the lollipop that fell from her mouth to the ground. This was it. They were directly cornered, and how could they possibly continue? Just as despair threatened to consume everyone, a cold voice sliced through the suffocating air like a sharp blade. "Then we fight." The speaker was Suqing. She slowly rose from her seat, shedding her tactical jacket to reveal a snug black combat suit beneath. The shock and gravity that once marked her face transformed into a fervent, unadulterated battle intent. Approaching the main weapon control panel, the crew member who previously occupied the position wisely stepped aside. Chun Imo said nothing, merely casting her a glance that communicated permission. "Release all weapon platforms from safety restrictions." Suqing seated herself, her slender fingers dancing across the control panel, issuing a chilling and resolute command that reverberated through the entire homeward. Unlimited ammunition usage. Target: reduce these tin cans before us to mere scrap. At that moment, the homeward, once bewildered by its lack of escape, awakened its primal ferocity. With a roar, the electromagnetic cannon atop the vehicle was the first to unleash its fury, a concentrated blue beam slicing through the dim forest, aiming directly at the elite mech ahead. Simultaneously, hidden missile launchers beneath the armored panels on either side of the homeward activated, unleashing a swarm of small missiles, trailing long tails of flame, like an enraged hive, flooding towards the other two mechs. The close-in defense machine guns mounted on the vehicle's underside spun wildly, spewing a torrent of fire, creating a crossfire net that sealed off every potential escape route for the three mechs. In that instant, the homeward transformed into a veritable mobile armory, fully unleashed. Faced with an overwhelming assault capable of flattening a small hill, the pilots of the three elite mechs exhibited a terrifying level of combat proficiency, far beyond that of Qin Feng and his ilk. The electromagnetic cannon's beam narrowly grazed the shoulder of one mech, leaving behind a bottomless molten trench in the ground behind it. That mech, executing an unfathomable evasive maneuver, narrowly escaped the deadly shot at the moment of firing. The deluge of missiles, too, failed to yield any results. A faint blue hexagonal energy shield illuminated the surfaces of the three mechs, most missiles detonating upon contact, erupting into fiery orange blooms, yet failing to inflict any harm. A few stray missiles that did evade the shield were detonated with pinpoint accuracy by the mech's beam rifles. They danced like phantoms on the edge of a blade, utilizing their energy shields and astonishing agility to navigate the hail of fire, while simultaneously retaliating with swift and precise shots from their beam rifles. High-energy beams struck the armor of the homeward with deadly accuracy. Though most were absorbed by the properties of the memory alloy, the violent impacts still sent tremors throughout the vessel, setting off alarms in the bridge. "Damn it, are these guys made of eels? They're slippery." Mia joined the fray, maneuvering the homeward's auxiliary fire control system, attempting to lock onto one of the mechs. But their movements were too swift. Every lock was evaded within mere fractions of a second. "Boss, this isn't working. Their maneuverability is too high. Our guns can't hit them." The battle reached a stalemate. The homeward possessed absolute firepower, yet it felt like a brawny giant wielding a massive hammer, unable to swat down the three irritating flies. Meanwhile, those three flies relentlessly drained the giant's stamina and patience with their venomous strikes. To make matters worse, the sky loomed ominously above. As Suqing and Mia were wholly engrossed in their struggle against the three elite mechas, Chen Mo's gaze remained fixed on a distant corner of the main screen. There, within an independent observation window, a foreboding figure of crimson hue, reminiscent of a demon, hovered ominously above a shroud of dark clouds. It did not rush to join the fray, resembling a detached deity, coldly observing the futile struggles of mortals below. The oppressive silence it exuded was far more intense than the frenzied assaults of the three mechas beneath. Lin Wan, Chinya, Analyze that red target. Chunmo's voice bore an imperceptible weight of urgency. Received. In the hangar, Qin Yu's complexion turned as pale as a sheet upon glimpsing the crimson figure. Trembling, she accessed the partial data extracted from the remnants of the Punisher, conducting a comparison. Successful match. Codename Red Dragon is the steed of the Dragon Maiden, the true ace of Tian Shield Corporation. Its performance exceeds that of the Punisher by more than 5-fold. The quality of its armor and energy core surpasses our current understanding. Qin Yu's voice seemed to lower the temperature within the command bridge. An ace machine coupled with an ace pilot. This was no mere arithmetic of 1 plus 1. At that moment, the previously silent Red Dragon stirred. It appeared weary of the tedious spectacle, or perhaps it had finally awaited the fleeting opportunity it desired. Just as the Homeward was executing an urgent evasive maneuver to escape the concentrated fire of the three mechas, creating a barely perceptible gap in its defenses, a streak of crimson light descended without warning. Its speed was astonishing, so rapid that the Homeward's automated defense systems could not react in time. All that remained in everyone's retinas was a long, blood-red afterimage. The target of the Red Dragon was not the Homeward's weapon platforms or its fragile sensors, but rather its most formidable and prideful frontal armor. With a hum, the high-frequency combat knife in the Red Dragon's grasp activated during its rapid descent. Its elongated blade enveloped in a visibly distorted energy field, emitting a piercing high-frequency buzz. In the next instant, the blade collided with the armor with a thunderous impact. The ear-piercing sound of metal being sliced reached the entire forest. The memory alloy armor, which had withstood countless assaults, even enduring electromagnetic cannon strikes, crumbled before the ominous red glowing high-frequency combat knife, as if it were butter effortlessly cleaved by a heated iron. Sparks erupted like a flood breaking its dam. In the horrified gazes of all, a terrifying gash, deep enough to reveal bone, extended from the top of the Homeward to its midsection. The heavy armor was brutally torn apart, with numerous intricate circuits and pipelines bursting forth in a dazzling display of electric sparks upon rupture. One strike, and it withdrew. The Red Dragon did not linger. At the moment it etched that fatal wound, its thrusters roared to life, and the entire machine ascended gracefully and coldly back into the clouds, as if that earth-shattering strike had been of no consequence to it. Beep, beep, beep. Warning, warning. Sector 3's main armor has sustained damage. Damage rate at 15%. Structural damage detected. Warning. Energy nodes 7, 8, and 9 have been severed. Backup energy systems activated. The shrill alarms and Lin Wan's tearful report echoed frantically within the command bridge. Everyone stood transfixed, staring at the main screen, where a shocking red crack, indicative of severe damage, marred the three-dimensional schematic of the Homeward. Chapter 53, The Mad Gambler. Let us flip the table. Boss. The left flank's mech has latched onto us again. Mia's desperate cry jolted everyone from their stupor. Her delicate face was ashen, beads of sweat dotting her forehead. Under her control, the battered Sentinel mech was performing desperate evasive maneuvers, its remaining arm flailing the high-frequency blade to deflect beams of light from all directions. Yet the coordination of the three elite mechas was far too seamless. They moved like sharks sensing blood, executing textbook-like coordinated attacks from three different angles, continuously constricting the Sentinel's maneuvering space. This is futile. Their mobility is too great. Our artillery cannot lock on. Su Qing's hands flew across the weapon control console, almost leaving an afterimage, yet the Homeward's firepower was always evaded by the enemy through incredible maneuvers. It was a deadlock. The Homeward resembled a giant ensnared in a spider's web, possessing immense strength, yet helplessly watching the venomous spider inject its poison. Yao Guang, jump. Any direction, immediately. Chunmo's voice carried an unmistakable gravity. Received. Yao Guang gritted her teeth and pressed her hands firmly on the silver sphere. The familiar sensation of weightlessness enveloped them. The world outside distorted, only to reconstitute in the next instant. They materialized in a desolate industrial area dozens of kilometers away. However, before anyone could catch their breath, the ominous alarm blared once more through the bridge. Warning. High-energy reactions detected again. They are directly above us. Su Qing's voice trembled with disbelief. Everyone instinctively looked up. Through the cracked porthole, the gloomy sky revealed three black elite mechas, like gatekeepers of hell, descending in a triangular formation, surrounding them once more. And higher in the clouds, that crimson figure, akin to a demon, hovered silently, regarding them with an expression as cold as death. There was no escape. Each jump only directed the enemy towards them. This realization weighed heavily on everyone's hearts like a colossal stone. No, armor damage exceeds 15%. If this continues, we will be dismantled piece by piece. Lin Wan's report became the final straw. The Sentinel mech was too exhausted to continue fighting, the Homeworld's defenses breached, and the escape route utterly blocked. This was the most dire predicament they had encountered since the apocalypse. Silence engulfed the command bridge, leaving only the hum of overstrained instruments and the methodical gunfire of the three mechas outside. At that moment, a voice, hoarse yet remarkably calm, emanated from the internal communication channel, originating from the hangar. I have a plan. It was Chinya. Speak. Chun Mo nearly forced the word through clenched teeth. A reckless gamble. The sound of Chinya rapidly typing echoed through the communicator. I just discovered a hidden emergency protocol regarding Tian Shield Corporation's energy core while analyzing the remnants of the Punisher mech. We can inject the energy from the cold fusion reactor into the spatial jump engine within 0.1 seconds. This proposal detonated like a depth charge upon the still surface of a lake. Are you insane? Lin Wan was the first to scream. That would trigger an energy surge. The jump engine and reactor would overload instantly, and the best outcome would be catastrophic failure. And the worst outcome? Su Qing asked coldly. Chinya fell silent for 2 seconds, her voice imbued with a chilling calmness as she declared, in the worst-case scenario, we, along with this vessel, shall become a splendid firework unseen by anyone, lost in the crevices of space. Mia gasped, her lollipop tumbling to the ground as she murmured to herself, is this a gamble with everything on the line? It's either striking gold or laboring in the fields. How exhilarating. However, Chinya's voice suddenly surged, infused with a fervent madness characteristic of a technical genius, as long as we succeed. This unprecedented surge of energy is sufficient to tear open a superdimensional wormhole that transcends conventional limits. We can embark on an extraordinary, long-distance random jump. The distance and destination will be entirely random, yet it will undoubtedly propel us far beyond the quantum beacon's locking range. She took a deep breath and succinctly summarized her plan using a metaphor easily grasped. It was akin to flipping the table and refusing to play any longer. The glint of danger flickered in Chun Mo's eyes. The command bridge fell into silence once again, all eyes fixed on Chun Mo, awaiting his final decision. This was a reckless scheme that gambled the lives of everyone involved on an ethereal possibility. Chun Mo slowly closed his eyes, memories flashing through his mind. Su Qing's composure, Lin Wan's determination, Mia's spontaneity, Yao Guang's dependence, and Qin Ya's resoluteness. He envisioned their mobile fortress, their shared home. He could not afford to lose. They could not afford to lose. When he opened his eyes once more, all hesitation and turmoil had vanished, replaced by an icy resolve akin to ancient glaciers. He gradually picked up the internal communicator and, with an undeniable tone, issued his command. Do it. This single word struck like thunder, instantly awakening all crew members numbed by despair. Lin Wan, Chinya, Chun Mo's orders cascaded like a barrage. You have 30 seconds to bypass all safety protocols and construct a direct energy conduit from the reactor to the jump engine. Mia, bring the Sentinel back. Use your last ounce of strength to hold our flank. Su Qing, open fire. Use all our ammunition to buy them time. Yao Guang, get ready. It will be painful, but you must endure. Received. Understood. All right. The pall of despair was swept away, replaced by a fervent, life-or-death battle spirit. On the command bridge and in the hangar, Lin Wan and Qin Ya's hands danced across the virtual keyboard, leaving behind trails of red code that represented taboo and danger, forcibly inscribing them into the main system. We are forcibly deactivating the primary safety valve. This is madness. We are all mad. Lin Wan gritted her teeth, her eyes sparkling with excitement. The hull of the Homeward began to groan under the unbearable strain. The cold fusion reactor at the center of the settlement, the heart of the divine, emitted an eerie blue glow that visibly morphed into a dangerously unstable dark purple, exuding an aura of destruction. An unprecedented, world-shattering energy brewed violently within the Homeward. Chapter 54, Ripping Space, a reckless gamble for life. Energy overload initiated. As Lin Wan's hoarse report echoed, all screens within the command bridge flickered out, leaving only the piercing sound of alarms, akin to cries of agony. Warning, reactor core temperature is out of control, exceeding safety threshold by 800%. Warning, jump engine structure is unstable, beginning to collapse. Warning, hull integrity is below 30%. Complete disintegration expected in 15 seconds. Within the silver cockpit, Yao Guang bore the brunt of the catastrophic consequences. The cataclysmic surge of energy flowed through the newly constructed direct conduit, violently and chaotically invading her mental realm without any buffering or filtration. Yao Guang emitted a sound that resembled a tortured scream, blood seeping from her orifices. She felt as though her brain and soul were cast into an erupting volcano, seared repeatedly by magma at millions of degrees, torn asunder. This was entirely different from the origami techniques Lin Wan had taught her. This was not guidance or control. This was pure, violent, destructive tearing. Her delicate face contorted in excruciating pain, yet her blood-streaked eyes remained fixed on the dark void. She recalled Chun Mo's outstretched hand. The bowl of kanji Mia had offered her Lin Wan's serious profile as she taught her to control her abilities. This home, she could not allow it to be destroyed. With gritted teeth, Yao Guang summoned the energy capable of ripping the universe apart, forcefully concentrating it into a single point, and thrusting it against the thin membrane between reality and the void. Open. Accompanied by her final cry, a transformation occurred. The space surrounding the homeward ceased to distort or waver. Instead, it shattered like a mirror struck by a divine hammer, instantly covered in a spiderweb of cracks. Then, it fractured inch by inch. An immense, indescribable, pure black void that reflected no light erupted where the homeward once resided. It resembled a colossal beast from a higher dimension, opening its maw to devour everything, swallowing the disintegrating, smoke-billowing steel fortress along with the surrounding area engulfed in barges and explosions in one gulp. Silence. The world fell into an instant tranquility. In the forest, only 3 black elite mechas and a crimson demon in the sky remained. They stared blankly at the empty space, forgetting even the act of attacking. The target has vanished? Above the clouds, the dragon lady gazed at the smooth expanse, as if nothing had transpired. Her face, typically adorned with a lazy and proud smile, betraying a profound astonishment for the first time. That was not a jump. That was annihilation. The communications device in the hands of the dragon lady buzzed with the voice of a subordinate, filled with shock and confusion. The target's quantum signal has been completely severed. They have jumped out of our monitoring range. The dragon lady's pupils constricted sharply. Slowly, she lowered her gaze to the high-frequency war blade in her hand, still bearing the sensation of tearing through armor. She had assumed it was merely the prey's final, impotent struggle. She never expected them to overturn the entire game board through a method she could not comprehend, akin to self-destruction. The gravity in the dragon lady's gaze deepened for the first time. Meanwhile, thousands of kilometers away, at the bottom of a colossal crater surrounded by mountains, the terrain resembled an alien world. The dark red soil and bizarre rocks filled the air with a faint scent of sulfur. In the very center of this desolate land, space suddenly tore open like a canvas slashed by a blade, revealing a grotesque, irregular black fissure. The next second, a pitch-black, steel construct riddled with terrifying cracks and belching thick smoke, as if vomited from another dimension, tumbled out of the fissure with a thunderous crash. Accompanied by a thunderous sound that reverberated throughout the entire crater, the homeward crashed heavily onto the hard, dark red ground. The immense impact caused it to emit a spine-chilling metallic groan, rolling and sliding for several hundred meters, carving out a deep trench before finally coming to a halt amidst a cloud of dust. Silence enveloped the fortress, a grave stillness, broken only by the last flicker of a backup power source supporting the main control computer, which issued its final, fatal system report. Warning. Reactor has shut down. Core damage at 70%. Warning. Space transition engine has been rendered inoperable. Warning. Weapon systems, defense systems, and power systems are all offline. They had survived, albeit in a manner bordering on tragic. Chapter 55. The counterattack begins. Coughing weakly, Lin Wan broke the silence. She struggled to raise her head from the control panel, blood from her bruised forehead obscuring her vision. She attempted to check the data, only to find all screens blanketed in darkness. Despair, like frigid seawater, slowly submerged everyone. How is Yao Guang? Mia's voice trembled with a hint of sobbing as she unfastened her seatbelt and groped in the darkness, rushing toward the silver cockpit. The cockpit door had jammed due to structural deformation, but through the observation window, she could see Yao Guang's small body curled up inside, covered in blood, utterly unconscious. It was over. This time, it was truly over. Just as despair threatened to engulf them completely, a similarly weak, yet oddly buoyant voice emerged. We are temporarily safe. It was Lin Wan. She had produced a backup tactical flashlight from somewhere, its feeble beam illuminating her pale face, which bore the marks of survival. She directed the flashlight toward the only portable detector still flickering with a faint light thanks to the backup power. The magnetic field here is highly abnormal. This entire crater resembles a colossal natural magnet, capable of shielding us from any signals we emit. They cannot locate us. This revelation provided a slight respite to the taut nerves of the others. Being untraceable meant temporary safety. But then what? The Homeward had become a pile of scrap metal. Its energy, weapons, and propulsion systems incapacitated. They were akin to Robinson Crusoe stranded on an island, except this island was a perilous crater. Once the Sky Shield Corporation initiated a carpet search, it was merely a matter of time before they were discovered. Silence once again descended upon the bridge. A weightier silence than before. Chun Imo stood in the shadows, like a lifeless statue. The reckless gamble had nearly drained him of all vigor. Yet his gaze remained eerily calm in the darkness. Can it be repaired? His voice, though soft, resonated like a stone cast into still waters, startling everyone. Repaired? Lin Wan glanced at the rows of red indicators on the detector, signifying fatal malfunctions, and shook her head bitterly. The reactor core is damaged beyond 70%. The transition engine is utterly inoperative, and there are multiple fractures in the main structure. Unless a miracle occurs, at that moment. A hoarse, yet fervent voice suddenly broke through the internal communication channel from the hangar. It can. It was Chinya. Not only can it be repaired, but we can also enhance it. This declaration left everyone wondering if she had lost her mind due to the recent impact. Through the communicator, the sound of Chinya rapidly typing on the keyboard accompanied her fervent explanation, characteristic of a technical enthusiast. You thought I was idle? I was dissecting the remains of the Punisher. I swear, it is the most ludicrous mech design I have ever seen, an insult to technology. But its technology is genuine. I have extracted a portion of the Sky Shield Corporation's foundational technologies from its data core, their energy transmission protocols, the algorithms for the deflector shields, and the design schematics for the micro-power units in the mech joints. These are treasures to me. Chinya's voice grew increasingly animated, even bordering on mania. So what if the reactor core is damaged by 70%? The remaining 30%. If we rewrite the energy output protocol, it will suffice to activate the basic repair systems. The transition engine is scrapped? No matter. We can dismantle its core and integrate it with the Punisher's deflector shield generator. I can equip the Sentinel mech with a genuine phase deflector shield. And the hull. We can strip the intact armor from the Punisher and find a way to integrate it with our memory alloy. The strength could increase by at least 30%. Boss. Chinya's voice suddenly soared. We are like a destitute individual who has stumbled upon a martial arts manual. Although we are currently gravely wounded, just give us time, and we will master unparalleled skills. Though they did not comprehend the intricate technical terminology, they grasped the essence of her final statement. It could be repaired and upgraded. A glimmer of hope flickered in Chun Mo's eyes. Slowly, he straightened his posture. We shall not flee. This may be a desperate situation, but it is also the finest hunting ground. Chun Imo walked to the viewport, gazing at the desolate and bizarre landscape of the crater outside. A smile curling at the corners of his mouth, filled with murderous intent. The Dragon Lady of the Sky Shield Corporation believed they had incapacitated them, that they would scurry away like frightened animals. They were mistaken. Instead of passively awaiting their approach, it was better to lay a trap and let them come to them. He turned, casting his gaze over each crew member's face. They have brought us shame. We shall repay them with death. From this moment forth, the counterattack plan is officially underway. Chapter 56, The Bait 1 week later. The profound silence at the bottom of the vast crater was broken. The Homeward, a steel behemoth that had narrowly escaped the spatial storm, was no longer a cold wreck. It resembled a patient who had just undergone heart bypass surgery. Adorned with various tubes and supports, yet its feeble breathing had resumed. The acrid scent of metal cutting and the burnt odor of welding permeated the air, and the incessant sounds of hammering and the hum of electricity composed a symphony filled with hope and the flames of vengeance. Within the bridge, the backup lighting cast a dim glow, barely illuminating every corner. Most systems remained offline, yet thanks to a week of relentless repairs, the core life support systems and basic repair platforms had miraculously restored to 70% functionality. All credit was due to the girl Chinya, who had immersed herself in the hangar, nearly merging with the oil. I declare, this is no ordinary shield. It is the clarion call for our counterattack against the Sky Shield Corporation. I shall call it Rebound. In the hangar, Mia, chewing on an energy bar, gazed in awe at the revitalized Sentinel mech. The restoration work on the Sentinel mech had been completed. The once fractured arm has been reattached, and the battle-scarred armor has been replaced with components salvaged from the Punisher mech, resulting in a rather mismatched appearance, akin to a grotesque patchwork. However, what draws the most attention is the additional hexagonal shield on its left arm, shimmering with an eerie blue energy. Though small in size, it emanates a palpably unsettling energy fluctuation. Professionally termed as a phase deflection shield, it catches the eye of Chinya, who, despite her prominent dark circles, radiates a feverish excitement characteristic of a technical genius. She caresses the cold surface of the shield, as if presenting her most prized creation. I dismantled the deflector shield generator from the Punisher's chassis and combined it with the only functional phase stabilizer from our scrap jump engine core. Theoretically, it can redirect energy attacks to another random dimension the moment they occur. In simpler terms, it renders the enemy's energy assault utterly ineffective. Mia, momentarily taken aback, ultimately concludes, I don't quite understand, but it sounds impressive. So, the laser guns from the sky shield will be like water guns now? That's a fair interpretation. But it's ineffective against physical attacks, and each deflection consumes a considerable amount of energy. Chinya responds, stifling a yawn. In any case, we now possess a trump card that allows us to exchange a few blows with someone like the Dragon Lady. At that moment, within the bridge, Chun Mo rose slowly, observing the screen displaying the repaired Sentinel mech alongside the homeward 70% repair progress. Everyone understood that the inevitable was approaching. The plan commences. Chun Mo's voice resonated clearly through the internal communications, reaching every crew member's ears. Mia immediately discarded her energy bar, flipping into her egg chair, her previously nonchalant expression replaced by a hunter's focus. Received. It's time to catch that arrogant red mudfish. Under her command, a miniature drone, no larger than a palm and resembling a mosquito, silently emerged from a concealed exhaust vent of the homeward. It skillfully navigated the distorted magnetic field of the crater, akin to an inconspicuous messenger, carrying the vengeance of all towards the vast world beyond. Ascending to a sufficient altitude, it released an exceedingly faint yet distinctly recognizable energy signal under Mia's precise control. This signal, meticulously calculated by Chinya and Lin Wan, perfectly mimicked the death throes of the homeward, emitting a mournful wail only when its core was severely damaged and energy was leaking. It was akin to a lone match flickering in the pitch-black sea, its last glimmer of light. Weak, yet sufficient to be detected by the most elite hunters lurking in the darkness. 1,000 miles away, at the Sky Shield Company's underground base number 3, the harsh alarm shattered a week-long silence. Report. Report. Suspected Fortress Gamma Ray spectral signal detected. A technician exclaimed, leaping from his seat in a frenzy. The signal is extremely weak and fading. It matches the energy leakage characteristics of a damaged core. The command hall erupted into chaos. In the independent observation room above, the supervisor clad in a white uniform approached the massive viewport, gazing at the flickering red dot on the main screen that represented the signal's origin, a cold, serpentine smile creeping across his face. Indeed, when the mouse is hungry, it cannot resist peeking out for air. He pressed the communication button, connecting to a channel he had not used in a week. Dragon Lady, your prey has appeared. On the other end, a languid yet dissatisfied feminine voice replied, finally arrived? I thought they would rot away in some forgotten corner. Send me the coordinates. I'll squash them like bugs and then return to my beauty sleep. Do you require the Ghost Hunter Squad's assistance? The supervisor inquired as a matter of routine. Assistance? The Dragon Lady scoffed, her laughter dripping with unabashed arrogance and disdain. Are you jesting, Supervisor? Do you think I need my squad to deal with a ship that's 70% wrecked? That would be a grave insult to me and my Crimson Dragon. Pausing for emphasis, she asserted, I can handle it myself. Such cleanup work does not warrant wasting more of the company's resources. As you wish, the supervisor replied, a meaningful smile curving his lips as he cut off the communication. He cared little for the Dragon Lady's arrogance. His concern lay solely in the outcome. In the exclusive hangar of the base, the Dragon Lady rose from her comfortable recliner, stretching provocatively, her scarlet pilot suit accentuating her perfect curves. Crimson Dragon, time to stretch your wings, she murmured to the empty hangar, as if in response to her call. The central red-hued mech, resembling a demonic entity, suddenly illuminated its sensors, casting an ominous red glow. She would pay dearly for her arrogance. Chapter 57. Dance of the Crater. A crimson meteor tore through the distorted heavens above the crater, perpetually disrupted by magnetic fields. The Crimson Dragon mech, a killing weapon embodying the pinnacle of Sky Shield Company's technological prowess, descended into this silent natural prison with a feral grace. Upon impact, its immense kinetic energy was flawlessly dissipated through the anti-gravity suspension system, leaving no dust in its wake. The Crimson Dragon hovered gracefully half a meter above the ground, akin to a sovereign surveying its domain. Within the cockpit, the Dragon Lady lounged languidly in her leather seat, her gaze sweeping over the desolate, alien-like landscape. The dark red soil, bizarre rock formations, and faint scent of sulfur elicited a slight frown from her. I never imagined these rats would hide in such a desolate place, she remarked disdainfully, But this ends here. Her attention quickly fixed on a jagged cluster of rocks in the distance. There, a black iron edifice was half embedded in the cliffside, exhibiting a woeful demeanor. Its hull was riddled with ghastly cracks, the deep wound inflicted by her high-frequency battle blade glaringly evident. The surface still emitted faint wisps of black smoke, resembling a dying, struggling beast. It matched the signal characteristics relayed by the drone perfectly. Oh, it seems to be a half-dead iron coffin after all. A cruel yet delighted smile curled at the corners of the dragon lady's lips. She envisioned those once formidable adversaries who had caused her a twinge of defeat, now cowering in the dark corners, trembling at her arrival. The thrill of cornering her prey and savoring their despair filled her with immense satisfaction. "It's over," she declared softly, as if stating an undeniable truth. Raising the Crimson Dragon's right arm, the high-frequency battle blade that had once torn through the Homeward's armor was reactivated, emitting a painfully grating hum. She had resolved to deliver a precise strike, cleaving directly through the bridge of that decrepit ship. Eager to witness the expression of the man named Chun Mo in the face of death. However, what awaited her was not the lamentations of a dying prey, but rather a cacophony of roars, akin to a tempest, erupting from all directions. At the very moment she raised her battle blade, a thunderous roar reverberated. Without warning, dozens of blinding lights flickered to life from the depths of seemingly ordinary rocks and shadowed crevices around her. In the next instant, a torrent of concentrated blue beams, small missiles trailing long tails of fire, and a relentless barrage of metal projectiles from rapid-fire cannons surged forth from every conceivable angle, descending upon the Crimson Dragon at the center of the clearing. Within the haven, Su Qing's eyes burned with the flames of vengeance. Her hands became a blur over the weapon control console, methodically assigning attack angles and firing timings to each weapon platform. Target the left thruster. Missiles. Anticipate its upward evasion path. Close in defense cannons. Block all possible horizontal movements. Chun Mo adeptly utilized the complex terrain of the crater, perfectly concealing the massive frame of the haven behind this natural labyrinth of rocks. The fixed gun emplacements, which had once appeared cumbersome on the front lines, now transformed into the deadliest and most unpredictable traps. The sudden saturation of attacks made the Dragon Maiden's pupils constrict in shock. What? Though she quickly regained her composure, relying on her elite piloting instincts and the extraordinary capabilities of the Crimson Dragon, she executed astonishing evasive maneuvers through the gaps in the barrage. The Crimson Dragon traced irregular, serpentine paths in the air, its energy shield flickering wildly under the onslaught of projectiles. Yet, her movements were evidently hampered. This crater had become a cage custom-made for her. Regardless of the direction in which she attempted to evade, precise artillery fire would rain down from unexpected angles, forcing her to change course yet again. She resembled a premier dancer besieged by hounds, her movements still graceful, yet confined to an increasingly restrictive space. Just as the Dragon Maiden found herself flustered and overwhelmed by this unforeseen trap, a thunderous roar of an engine erupted from behind a massive rock to her side. "That red giant eel. Take this, you old hag." Mia's exhilarated scream accompanied a dark gray mech, resembling a patchwork of various components, as it charged into the battlefield. It was the Sentinel. With a reckless and fearless demeanor, it barreled towards the evasive Crimson Dragon from the side, seeking death. A flicker of anger ignited in the Dragon Maiden's eyes. How dare a lowly scrap mech charge at her? Without hesitation, she pivoted the Crimson Dragon's body, raising her beam rifle to unleash a scorching red beam aimed directly at the Sentinel's cockpit. She intended to reduce this insolent provocateur and its pilot to ashes. However, in the face of this lethal strike, Mia did not flinch. Instead, she let out an even more exhilarated laugh. "Just what I was waiting for." She swiftly positioned the Sentinel's pristine, hexagonal shield, shimmering with an eerie blue glow, in front of her mech. The next moment, the crimson beam collided with the azure shield. There was no cataclysmic explosion, no violent shockwave. The beam, capable of penetrating battleship armor, seemed to vanish upon contact with the phase deflection shield, merely causing ripples to dance across its surface before disappearing entirely. Meanwhile, a massive hole inexplicably erupted in a rock wall several meters behind the Sentinel. The attack had been deflected. What was that? The Dragon Maiden's earlier arrogance was completely replaced by sheer astonishment. Mia seized this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Maneuvering the Sentinel, she bravely withstood the Crimson Dragon's deadly assault with the enigmatic shield, immediately launching into a fierce close-quarters combat. The high-frequency combat blade sliced through the air with a piercing shriek, relentlessly targeting the Crimson Dragon's joints and cockpit. Clang, clang, clang. The two mechs, worlds apart in performance, engaged in primal, bloody brawls against the backdrop of relentless artillery fire. Restricted in her movements by the barrage and ensnared by the unyielding sentinel, the Dragon Maiden felt a sensation she had never experienced before, a feeling known as troublesome. It was a trap. This thought coursed through her body like a chilling current. Chapter 58. The Team's Triumph. Clang. 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 The high-frequency blades clashed against the Crimson Dragon's armor, sending sparks flying. Each impact made Mia feel as though her arms might shatter. The Dragon Maiden's personal skills were indeed formidable, allowing her to maneuver effortlessly even when besieged by dozens of turrets and grappled by the relentless sentinel. The Crimson Dragon moved under her command like a living dancer. Each dodge, block, and counterattack executed with textbook precision and grace. Under Mia's control, the sentinel became a frenzied beast. Yet every decisive attack was effortlessly neutralized by the Dragon Maiden with minimal movement. Conversely, the Crimson Dragon's elusive beam rifle continuously inflicted new wounds upon the sentinel in the moments of combat. The disparity in performance was akin to an insurmountable chasm. Damn it, this creature is nothing short of a monster. Mia gritted her teeth, the alarms of the sentinel nearly piercing her eardrums. It was as slippery as an eel, evading any critical hits. Before her stood the top ace of the Sky Shield Corporation, a team whose core combat strength surpassed her wildest imagination. Yet, the Dragon Maiden faced an adversary unlike any she had encountered before, a team. Just as she aimed to pierce the Sentinel's cockpit with a decisive blow, a concentrated blue electromagnetic cannon beam shot forth at an exceptionally cunning angle, precisely targeting the thruster she was about to activate. This shot aimed not at her mech, but at her very action. The Dragon Maiden's pupils dilated in shock, forcing her to abandon her lethal strike and pivot her mech just in time to narrowly evade the deadly beam. It was in this fraction of a second that Mia found her chance to breathe. "Well done, Sister Su-Ching," Mia shouted in excitement, rolling the sentinel to create distance. Inside the haven, Su-Ching's expression remained as calm as an ice sculpture under the dim lights. Her gaze fixated on the battlefield. Her fingers steadily tapped on the weapon control console. Her artillery was no longer mere attacks. It was a tightening web, restricting movements, limiting mobility, anticipating actions, and creating openings. She did not need to hit. She merely required the Crimson Demon to dance to her desired rhythm upon the stage of the crater. For the first time, the Dragon Maiden's expression darkened. She felt like a master swordsman ensnared in a spider's web, full of unparalleled swordsmanship, yet unable to unleash it due to the sticky threads binding her from all sides. Every attempt to break free only resulted in more threads, ensnaring her from unexpected angles. Just then, Mia's earpiece crackled with Chinya's clear yet urgent voice. "Mia, the back of its right knee joint. The heat dissipation grill there, after enduring continuous high-intensity maneuvers, enters a half-second overheating protection window. During that fleeting moment, its energy shield experiences a 3% drop in power. Within the hangar, Chinya kneels before a chaotic heap of dismantled Punisher remains. In front of her stands a makeshift data analysis platform constructed from various circuits. Countless data points representing the energy flow of the Crimson Dragon's body flash rapidly across the screen. She is providing real-time insights into the enemy's weaknesses for Mia, the Vanguard. Received. Half a second is sufficient. A fierce glint ignites in Mia's eyes. In the next instant, she executes a maneuver that leaves even the Dragon Lady astounded. She discards all defenses, controlling the Sentinel mech in a self-destructive manner, ramming its left shoulder directly into the beam sword swung by the Crimson Dragon. With a swift slice, the beam sword easily cleaves through the Sentinel's shoulder armor, nearly severing its entire left arm. Yet, Mia seizes this momentum to close the distance to the brink of confrontation. This is the opportunity she sought. "Now, take this, you wretched creature." Mia lets out a desperate roar, wielding the high-frequency combat blade in her remaining right arm, plunging it with all her might into the location Chinya indicated. The Dragon Lady reacts with astonishing speed, attempting to raise her leg to block. However, Su-Ching's firepower once again perfectly obstructs her movement. With a muffled metallic puncture, the Sentinel's combat blade successfully drives into the heat dissipation grill of the Crimson Dragon's right knee joint. Sparks erupt violently, and the right leg of the Crimson Dragon suddenly stiffens, causing the mech to lose balance. "Success!" Mia exclaims with exhilaration, though in the next moment, she is violently kicked away by the enraged Dragon Lady, the Sentinel mech crashing against the rock wall like a kite severed from its string, rendered immobile. Yet, her mission is accomplished. On the other side of the battlefield, in the energy control room of the Homeward, Linwan stares intently at the energy flow monitoring chart. Her clothes soaked with sweat. She pays no heed to the breathtaking battle outside. Her focus is solely on a fluctuating curve representing the output power of the Crimson Dragon's engine. Suqing's suppression. Qinya's analysis. Mia's desperate strike. Everything is aimed at a singular, ultimate goal, to provoke her, to force her to abandon evasive maneuvers and resort to the most direct, violent means to break the stalemate. On the battlefield, the Dragon Lady's fury finally ignites completely. She gazes at the Sentinel, now reduced to scrap metal, and then at the non-fatal but deeply humiliating wound on her own mech. The pride of being an ace has been ruthlessly trampled by what she perceives as mere ants. You all shall perish. The Dragon Lady roars in wrath, ceasing any attempts at evasion or dodging. The main thruster behind the Crimson Dragon surges to its maximum output. A blinding red flame erupts like the wings of a demon, unleashing an overwhelming wave of energy that feels suffocating. She aims to forcibly breach this damned barrage of firepower and tear apart the iron coffin hidden behind the rocks. However, at the very moment her engine reaches peak output, preparing to break through, Linwan's face, pale from oxygen deprivation, suddenly blossoms into an extraordinarily brilliant smile. This is the moment she has awaited. With all her strength, she presses the communicator, sending out the long-prepared signal. Now, within the Homewards cockpit, designed for Yaoguang, which resembled an eggshell, the eyes of the seemingly slumbering Yaoguang snap open. Her complexion is as pale as parchment, with a trace of dried blood at the tip of her nose, remnants of the forced energy guidance. Yet her gaze shines with an astonishing brilliance. Before the battle commenced, she had received Chun Mo's singular command: do nothing, disregard everything, concentrate all your spirit, restore all your strength, and await the signal. Now, the signal has arrived. Chapter 59. Capturing the Dragon Lady. Her hands gently, yet resolutely settle upon the two floating silver spheres before her. This time, she no longer feels the soul-rending, chaotic energy of before. After Qinya and Linwan's repairs and modifications, the reactor's energy output, while still immense, is now manageable and tameable. She has already locked onto her target, an energy source radiant as the sun, glowing crimson in her perception. A sly smile curves her lips. Short-range, pinpoint space jump. The massive form of the Homeward flickers in place, like an old light bulb with a poor connection. In the next moment, it vanishes behind the distorted rocks, leaving no trace of wind or sound, as if it had never existed. At the center of the battlefield, the Dragon Lady's rage has reached its zenith. The pride of being the ace of the Heaven's shield is trampled in the most humiliating manner by what she sees as mere insects. You all shall perish. The main thruster of the Crimson Dragon surges to its utmost power. A blinding red flame erupts, akin to the wings of a demon, unleashing a colossal wave of energy that feels suffocating. She aims to forcibly breach this hellish barrage of fire and shred the iron coffin concealed behind the rocks. Yet, in that very instant when her engine reaches its peak output, an unprecedented chill, penetrating to the core, surges from her spine to the crown of her head. It is the primal fear of being targeted by a far greater, more terrifying apex predator lurking behind her. Before her mind can comprehend the source of this chill, a colossal shadow, vast enough to eclipse the sky, looms over her cockpit. The alarm system of the Crimson Dragon, delayed by a mere tenth of a second, emits the most mournful, wailing scream ever recorded. The Homeward, which she believed was hidden hundreds of meters away, now appears directly behind the Crimson Dragon. The distance between them is less than 5 meters. This proximity exceeds the limits of any mech or pilot's reaction capabilities. It is a physical, absolute deadlock. In that instant, the Dragon Lady's pupils constrict to the size of needles. She wishes to evade, to activate the emergency thrusters, but her body, her nerves, cannot keep pace with this incomprehensible reality. Crack! Before she can make any move, accompanied by a nauseating mechanical grinding sound, the heavily damaged forward armor plates of the Homeward suddenly slide apart. Two colossal mechanical arms, thicker than the waist of the Crimson Dragon, gleaming with a metallic cold light, shoot forth like serpents emerging from the abyss, wielding an unmatched terrifying force. Their target is clear and merciless. A mechanical arm, akin to a colossal iron claw, firmly ensnared the waist and torso of the Crimson Dragon. Another arm, positioned at a more cunning angle, clamped down on the dragon's arms, which wielded a high-frequency battle knife and a beam rifle, as well as its thrusters that continued to spew flames. The metallic sounds of twisting and deforming reverberated throughout the crater. No matter how fiercely the Dragon Maiden struggled, or how she pushed the Crimson Dragon's engine to its limits, the two mechanical arms remained immovable. The Crimson Dragon, The pinnacle of the Celestial Shield Corporation's weaponry now resembled a dragonfly with its wings pinched. All its strength and pride rendered a mere jest before this absolute and unreasonable physical restraint. The battle had concluded. The closed defense cannon of the Homeward silently targeted the vulnerable cockpit of the Crimson Dragon. Ultimately, the Dragon Maiden ceased her struggles. She slumped in the pilot's seat, gazing through the viewport at the black fortress that pressed down on her like a mountain, and for the first time, confusion surfaced on her face, which was usually adorned with arrogance and confidence. When the cockpit of the Crimson Dragon was forcibly breached and the Dragon Maiden was brought inside the Homeward, her confusion swiftly metamorphosed into a profound, incredulous shock. This was the interior of that decrepit vessel. It lacked the coldness, confinement, and oily stench she had anticipated from a military vehicle. Instead, it was characterized by spacious, bright corridors and the clean air infused with a faint botanical fragrance. Courtesy of a climate control system, the walls even displayed a variety of graffiti artworks. Warm light cascaded from above, creating an illusion reminiscent of a luxurious apartment from the pre-apocalyptic world. As she passed a corner, she caught a whiff of food. She spotted the icy woman named Su Qing, calmly recording combat data at the control console, occasionally discussing energy output with the glasses-wearing girl named Lin Wan, who was slumped in her chair from exhaustion. She saw Mia, the wild girl who had fought her in a battered mech, now sprawled on the ground, lamenting that her arm was about to break, while excitedly discussing how to disassemble the Crimson Dragon with the tech-savvy girl named Qinya. She also noticed the girl named Yao Guang, the catalyst for all these transformations, being cradled by Chun Mo from the cockpit. Despite her bloodied appearance, she resembled a cat that had just scored a perfect mark, snuggling in his arms and raising a peace sign as if to claim credit. Was this the team that had defeated her? There were no rigid hierarchies, no cold commands, no standardized military decorum. Instead, there was a seemingly chaotic group of girls, some of whom appeared rather unreliable, chattering and laughing like a dormitory in a post-apocalyptic world. Yet, it was this very group that, through an unexplainable synergy, had forced her, the ace of the Celestial Shield Corporation, into a corner and ultimately captured her as easily as one would catch a chick. For the first time, her proud gaze wavered. At that moment, Chen Mo stepped before her, and at that instant, a series of long-awaited system prompts flooded his mind.